What is happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. Welcome back, because today we're talking about another victory on the road for Tottenham against Everton. This comes historic win, really. First team to win at Hill Dickinson Stadium, as well as it being another away win. First team as well to score a set piece against Everton this season. So lots of things to be positive about, sitting pretty inside the top three as well. So some good stuff. So tonight should be a very, very good podcast, because I'm joined by a spectacular panel, and literally, it absolutely is that. And let's go through and introduce them, because you know who I am. I'm Harry Scarfe, your host as always for tonight. Firstly, George, making your debut on the podcast. Thanks so much for coming on. How you doing?
No, great, mate. Thanks for having me on. It's a long time coming. Been trying to come on for a while, but you know how it is, just life getting in the way, being busy. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy to discuss a win. So much appreciated, and we're all going to be positive, hopefully, fingers crossed. And yeah, absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
No worries at all. In my book, she's definitely coming back. So you come on eventually. We win the game. So, as far as I'm exactly. So no, thank you for giving us your time. Should be a good one. Billie T, welcome back onto the podcast. Always great to have you on. How have you been doing?
Yeah, very good, man. Good to be on with this great panel. And yeah, looking forward to getting into it. Thank you for having me as always.
No, thank you. Pleasure's absolutely mine. Thank you so much. And Ashmatic, thank you very much for stepping in. Had a few pull out last minute, so really appreciate your time. Drop me a message this evening to say that you could make it. How are you doing?
Man, I'm glad to be called up last minute off the substitution spot bench. But like Mickey Van der Ven, man, listen, we take the Mickey at the Hill Dicky. That's what we do, bro. But big up, man. We're celebrating a win. Let's talk about Tottenham, man. Let's do it, man. Big up to the panel each and every time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Before we start, if you're new and you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're listening live as well, let us know where you're listening from and what time of the day it is. If you're listening on by audio, so podcast platform, please drop us a follow and a 5-star review, and a quick shout out to all our non-paid partners in the partnership deals. So we have quite a few at the moment. You've got the Kitman, you've got Everything Spurs Discord, we've also got Dan Gay's support services in the 290, and also Tottenham Program Collector, the latest partner. But let's talk Tottenham then. So for people who didn't see it, the Spurs starting 11 for the Everton win was Vicario, it was Porro, Danso, Van der Ven, Spence, and Paulinia, Bentancur, Simmons, Kudus, Johnson, Moani. Then the substitutes were Kinski, Byfield, Gray, Sarr, Bergvall, Odebear, Scarlett, Tell, and Richarlison. George, coming to you firstly, what were your thoughts on this team at the time? Were there any surprises in there for you?
To be honest, the main one for me was Kolo Muani, because I know that the day before, the day before, Frank said that he's not quite ready for 90 minutes. And I kind of took that to mean, he's still going to come on as a sub every now and again to sort of build up the fitness. Also, apologies if you can hear my dog in the background, it's going mental. But it's I was surprised to see him start and actually get a good, about 60 odd minutes that he got in the end, which I thought that was great. I advocated for Johnson to start for this game in particular. He did, but it didn't quite go to the way I thought it would. So I think to most he would have been a surprise to see in the starting 11, especially because I think Odebear started the last 4 before that. So a couple of changes. I think some of it definitely worked in the first half. We seem to be a little bit more fluid going forward when we, with like Kudus and Xavi almost kind of being 2 10s with Spence pushing up high. But yeah, other than that, I think it was a pretty solid team. I like the look of Kolo Muani in that first half in particular. Seemed to be quite nimble, quite agile.
He did indeed. We'll get into his performance, but he stood out to me. Thank you, George. And I did see a piece about Johnson starting, and I looked at the time and thought that's interesting because it is bold, and you're absolutely right. So sign you up again as Frank's assistant, as well as coming on here after.
Frank, if you're listening, I'm available. Sign me up, man.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. Love that. Billy, coming to you, I want to talk about Bentancur and Paulinia because they're starting together in midfield again. What was your reaction to this? Hold my hands up. To be totally honest with you, I wasn't convinced at all when I saw this.
Yeah, it's been a big talking point, probably the biggest tactical talking point of the season so far. I kind of felt like this is probably a good game for them because it's way tough place to go. Really intimidating atmosphere. Everton, pretty decent start to the season. Got some good players like Grealish and Ndiaye who can really hurt you. So I think it was a good game for them. For me, I think the more of a question would be if we're playing at home against a team that we should be having a lot of possession against and carving out chance after chance. Maybe that's when they shouldn't play. But I think this one was okay for them to play in. And I actually think, as we'll get on to a bit later on, I'm sure, I thought they were both brilliant yesterday. It was probably their best performance as a 2 this season. Bentancur had his best game in a while. Paulinia was excellent. So I was a little bit skeptical, like you were, but I do think if I had to choose, I think them playing them in away games is the way forward for sure.
I agree with that. Maybe not like the Wolves at home, but definitely a game like this away from home. I mean, you've got a couple of games that will be coming up as well, Billy. You know, Newcastle, Chelsea. Do you think these are games where they've got to probably both start together?
Yeah, I mean, our next run of fixtures, I would be hoping to see both of them play, pretty much all of them, to be honest. Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, PSG coming up, Newcastle away coming up. It's a horrific run of games, and I think we're going to need both of them to play the majority of those games. We need to look really solid in those games. It's going to be tough run.
Very tough, absolutely. Thank you, Billy. Ashmatic, I come to you. I mean, George mentioned it there in terms of Colin. How happy were you to see him start? Because it was a surprise. George mentioned it again there that Frank said in his press conference he's nearly ready, I think was the words he used, to start the game, suggesting that he wouldn't. So did this take you by surprise?
More Henry, that's what I saw, bro. Like, I was so excited to see his agility, as George has already alluded to. His first touch flicks around. Oh, bro, just took me back. I said, yeah, this is the player I'm looking to pin my hopes on. And you know what? He didn't have that many chances created for himself, but the fact that he was a willing runner, he got around about the pitch. He's a different profile to what we have, in my opinion, in the attack. Slightly different to Richarlison, slightly different to Solanke, but offers similar things to both of them, kind of merging them into one player, I feel. I just wasn't sure if that Serie A Juventus Moani would transfer into the Premier League and have the same impact in the Spurs side that up till now has created very little in open play. So, yeah, when I first saw it, I was very excited because, you know, when you don't know too much about a player, you're more optimistic as a Spurs fan. Like, I was thinking quite high hopes that, you know, he hit the ground running, he could do something a little bit different and just bring an overall freshness and a competitive edge to the team, because Richarlison must be looking sideways, you know. Everton's his old stomping ground. And if you actually think about it, he scored every time he's played at Everton, albeit be at the old ground. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, he got pushed over. He got pushed out the way from Moani. So I was excited for it. And I thought many fans might have been excited for it as well, because it was a change that a lot of fans were calling for.
Absolutely. I think maybe surprising, but happy to see that happen. And thank you very much, Ashmatic. Can I actually stick with you, because in the 19th minute, the first goal of the game happens, and it went to Spurs through Vicky van der Ven. I mean, firstly, lovely corner, isn't it, from Mohamed Kudus? Bang on the money.
Lovely corner. He's just improving day by day on those set pieces. When he likes to do the out to in, the in swinging corners. Benton Core, obviously, a lot of criticism lately. He's on the back end of it. He gets his head onto it, you know. Ben 10 gets across, puts it into Van Basten. That's what we have to call him from now on, because he's moving like a top striker. Apparently, back in the day, he used to be a striker. I can see it now. And we know that Thomas, the Frank engine, said to him, look, you finished with your feet, but you need to your headers. Like, so I'm like, yeah, you know what? He's 6'3", 6'4", and he's only just realized. And he started to use that aerial ability that we have mentioned in previous seasons that he needs to improve on. And now he's becoming our Dutch Gabriel, bro. I said it. Don't shoot me. But listen, if he can become a powerhouse, I even like the like, if I can say, the shithousery of him, like when he was telling the Everton fans that, and then he was like, I'm all about that life. Do you know what I mean? I like my defenders to have characters. I have a bit of balls about them, a bit of bravery. And as soon as he's put that armband on, it's like a piece of Romero's just attached to him. You know, like when Venom or Spider-Man gets infected. He's just taking that on, because even at the end of the game, him and Vicario, they're going back and forth like, no, I'm the guy. No, you're the guy. We're both the guy. I kind of like that energy, like that kind of big ball. Because when he first came in, I thought he was going to be a nice guy. But I'm seeing slowly a transition from a young man into, you know what I'm saying, a warrior, a beast, a leader, a kind of a Tongan kind of type. I shouldn't make the comparisons too early, but this season here, if he stays fit, he could be our most important player, our Rolls Royce. Dare I say it, bro?
I think you put that nicely, to be fair, Ashmatic, because you make a very good point. When he first come in, he wasn't he, kind of seen as that nice guy, maybe not naturally a leader, but he's like, I love it yesterday. I think he proper took that role very nicely. So no, thank
Yeah,
you.
even
for
just
that.
to add on, even like defensively, because I know I always talk about the goal, but I thought like carrying the ball out, being brave, passing the switches of play as well, passing into the channels. I'm like, hey, is this Mickey? Bro, I didn't even know you had that in your locker. So I'm liking a lot of it, as well as his aggression, like in the box in terms of like interceptions, etc., leading from the front. Yeah, I really like that performance, man.
Lovely stuff. Thank you. Certainly was at the forefront of everything positive for Spurs in this game. George, coming back to you, I want to talk a little bit more about that knockback from Bentancur. So I looked at it to start with and thought, when you see it first time, you think, how much does Bentancur know about that? Is he trying to keep the situation alive? Is it a really good assist? But the more you kind of see it back, it looks a very kind of, very good firstly assist from Bentancur, but it looks like he knows what he's doing. Would that be fair to say?
I think so, yeah, because obviously I was at the game yesterday and I was like row 6, so quite low down. So it's hard to see, especially when it was on the other side of the pitch as well, where the corner happened. And when Kudus first took it, my natural reaction was, oh my God, that's going really far. Has he just mishit that completely? But as the game went on and we got more corners, you kind of realized that seemed to be the tactic and the play on quite a few of them. Because there was a couple of others where they hit it to the back post as well to try and head it across and so on and so forth. So it seems to be something they've probably worked on. And yeah, looking back afterwards, great little head across. And I think, like Ash was saying there, I think Mickey is now learning a bit more about, I guess, being in the right place at the right time, using his strength, because we've seen him be on the goalkeeper for pretty much every corner now. And I think that's something really smart that Thomas Frank's added on, and it just means that also, like like what happened in the game, if the ball does come back across in the middle, even if it's gone past him in the first place, he's in probably the best position to just get anything on it to guide it towards goal. And there's no wonder he's a goal scoring machine for us now. And yeah, it was a great little assist from Bentancur.
100%. It was a lovely goal. I mean, it's from a corner of, you have these lovely set piece routines. I mean, this has absolutely got to be one of them. So thank you, George, for that. Billy, do you think this was a significant time to score in the game? Of course, any moment is important. You always want to score and it always feels significant. But it just felt like, didn't it? Like before a ball was kicked, you knew this would be tough. Everton's record there already at the Hill Dickinson Stadium this season, the attacking players they've got. It felt like we had to take the lead and kind of silence the crowd. And we've done that, quite quickly within 20 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And then we saw afterwards that they had a pretty decent spell, Everton, where they were making quite a few saves. So, Vicario had to make for the second game in a row, had to make some really, really good saves. It's a really difficult place to go, Everton. I think it's our first win there in 7 years, which I always kind of felt like we had a better record than that against Everton. But no wins there in 7 years. I think there's been 4 draws in a row there or something like that. I know we got hammered there last year under Postecoglou, one of the worst games I can ever remember as a Spurs fan. So it's not an easy one. And what you've got to do in those kind of games is go and score early. We see, teams like Arsenal do it all the time and go and silence the crowd. Yeah, so definitely really, really important, I think. And the mentality under Frank has been something that I've been really impressed with. And I think to have the best away record in the Premier League at the moment is amazing. 13 points out of 15 this season, which is incredible. So, yeah, I definitely think away from home, it's about mentality, I think. And we really showed that yesterday.
Certainly do. Thank you, Billy. Can I stick with you? Because in the 24th minute, Everton had a disallowed goal. The goal was given on pitch, but overturned by the on-field referee after being advised to go to the monitor. So overturning his own decision, which we see quite a lot at the moment. Do you agree with the decision, or do you think we've got away with one slightly?
Oh no, I think it's. The only surprise for me was that it took so long. It's obviously offside. I think you could argue over the fact that it was a foul on Vicario, but I don't think that was really the question. It was the fact that they were both offside and interfering with play because they were both on the keeper. It was a no-brainer for me. They were clearly offside when the ball's headed on. Both interfering with Vicario. If they were both onside at the time, or if it was direct for the corner, you can argue the fact that maybe it wouldn't be a foul. But absolutely clear as day offside.
Okay, thank you. And Ashmatic, do you think it's a good use of VAR? Checking it, of course, giving their opinion, but advising the referee to go and check the monitor and have a look for himself?
Yeah, you've got to, if you're not sure and they've whispered in your ear, take another look at this. We're looking at an offside decision. And he's gone and looked at it and he said, actually, I thought I didn't see that firsthand, and maybe the linesman didn't pick up on it, then yeah, it's always good. I felt that at the end of it, even Moisey said it, he's like, look, bro, he was offside. Can't lie. You know what I mean? Fair is fair. When the other position manager's saying it, like, what can you do with it? Like, it is what it is. And so, unfortunately, I think it was Ndiaye's fault. Blame Ndiaye. If Everton fans are mad, they need to point him out for being in the offside position, because I think Vicario doesn't get that. Do you know what I mean? If I'm being totally honest, I think he can seize that. And we know he does struggle with corners, unfortunately. But yeah, it didn't count. So boo-hoo.
Exactly. It doesn't matter, does it? In the grand scheme of things. But we'll get on to what David Moyes said a little bit later, because he was brutally honest after the game, which is refreshing to hear from anyone within football, let alone managers. But George, Ashmatic's mentioned it there. Vicario, I mean, if we're being honest, do you think he's really going to save this either way? I mean, I personally think we got to the right decision, but the goalkeeper's not really getting there, is he?
No, and even before that and later on in the games, every time they sort of had a corner, you'd see him almost half coming out, looking like he's going to do his classic sort of punch out, and actually really doesn't get anywhere near them. And as Ash alluded to there, it's definitely probably his biggest weak point is collecting the ball from either crosses in or corners or free kicks, whatever it might be. So, no, when that did go in, I was sort of sitting there thinking, oh, here we go. Another Vicario like sort of blunder from a corner, and yeah, luckily it got overturned in the end. But I think it's still something he needs to work on massively, because like I said, it was happening throughout the game anyway, where he wasn't quite getting there. But luckily he was having an incredible game. Other than those sort of scenarios, some of the amazing saves he pulled off, I thought he was leading the backline well alongside Mickey. So credit to him. I think it was one of his better games this season for sure. Thought he was really good. Just those odd few things I think Frank's going to need to still work on him with, just being a bit stronger when it comes to coming out and collecting the ball.
100%. And talking about goalkeepers, I just think here, I look at this and go, could the case of Vicario be stronger? That's got to be the question here. So I think you raise a good point, but how do you see the kind of the situation going right now? Because we've seen like Vicario, a lot of talk at the moment. Do you think he's, Tottenham's locked in number one after the week he's had?
I think he will be at the moment for the foreseeable anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if Frank's got maybe like a long-term plan for Kinski, obviously considering how young he is, and maybe giving him more cup games or something like that. I'm not too sure. Maybe when the FA Cup starts rolling around, seeing what he's like there. And when we have seen Kinski, I think where the benefit he has over Vicario is he's a lot more composed on the ball, I feel like. So if we start maybe developing our progression, and maybe we need a goalkeeper like that. But the thing with Vicario is, like he's done against Monaco and like he's done against Everton, is he can have incredible games where he saves our skin with some amazing saves. I think the main issue for me that separates him from the elite goalkeepers in the league is he's not that consistent. I thought he started the season off brilliantly. He then had maybe 2-3 games where he looked really shaky. Positioning wasn't great. We lost those matches. But then he goes and has 2 games in a row now where he's looked fantastic again. And I think he's not going to be displaced anytime soon, because I also think he's one of the leaders and voices in the dressing room. And I think that's something you can't really overlook. I think if Frank came in and with his first few months, he's, we've sold Son, Maddison's injured, and then you throw out your 28-year-old goalkeeper for like a 21, 22-year-old goalkeeper, I think it starts creating a bit of tension in the squad. So maybe there's a long-term plan for Kinski. But for now, I think Vicario is definitely number one for us.
Thank you, George. I mean, what a week for the Italian indeed. Before we progress, I've got a question here in the chat from an Everton fan. Ashmatic, if you don't mind, I'm going to give it to you. So big up to him. He says, do you think that when Beto missed the chance early on, do you think it was a penalty? The Spurs defender had half his shirt off, sitting right level with it, but he also agrees the Everton goal was off. So he's been fair with that bit. What do you think? Have you seen it back?
I don't remember. I remember like when the ball got crossed in early and they Jack Grealish had the chance and Porro blocked it. But this particular incident that he's talking about, I don't really remember too much of anything like that stood out to me and said, you know what, fair enough. I think we got away with one. I thought more or less the one that stood out to me was the incident we just spoke about with with the goal happening when I first glimpsed at it and then realized he was offside. And I was like, okay, you know what? It was offside. But this actual chance that he's talking about, what Beto missed early on, I'm not too sure, in my opinion. I don't think it really was enough. Because a lot of the chances and a lot of the things that happened against us, any incident that happened, I was like, oh, that's not enough. It's not enough conviction. It's not enough for me to say it's a foul or penalty or something of concern. And it wasn't brought up either in post-match on Sky Sports. I watched Match today. I didn't see anything that they brought up either. So if it's not just me, then maybe, unfortunately, on this occasion, Beto's just a donkey. Sorry. By Richarlison. By Richarlison. He could have. There you go. I said it. Sorry, guys.
We're getting to Richarlison a little bit later, but no, fair enough. And, I think I thought, looked at this question, I thought, hang on, what moment is he talking about? But if I can remember correctly, I think it was someone like Van der Ven, I think was tugging at his shirt ever so slightly. But I think Beto is a player who maybe struggled and was looking for that a little bit. But thank you, Ashmatic, for that. And also thank you for the question. Billy, can I come to you? Because in the 6th minute of stoppage time in the first half, there was a lot of additional time. Of course, one of them being, as we discussed earlier, that incident where there was a VAR check. We scored, it was, and through Mickey Van der Ven to make it 2-0 to Tottenham. Van der Ven with his second as well in the game. I mean, this guy literally got everything, isn't he? We talk about Rolls Royce being mentioned a lot. I mean, what can Van der Ven not do? He literally can do everything, right?
Yeah, man, but this one, delivery was insane on this one. The whip from Porro was unbelievable. I think the Kudus one was nice, but this one was an absolute striker's dream. You can't miss if you get on the end of that. Unbelievable ball in from Porro. Great to have him on fantasy football as well. I'm sure most Spurs fans own him on fantasy football. Always gets an assist. I think he's got the second most assists of any defender since he joined. Trent is only one ahead of him now, so I'm sure he will overtake him this season. And then he'll have the most assists of any goalkeeper of any defender in the Premier League. But yeah, what a ball in! And yeah, I don't know. It seems really obvious, right? Like just to put Van der Ven right in front of the goalkeeper. I'm not really sure how we didn't spot that before, like last season and season before. Like just put a massive guy right in front of the goalkeeper. It's obviously going to be brilliant. I mean, when you add Vuskovic to this next season, wow, we're going to be powerful from these set pieces. And I know the wider discussion going around at the moment is, is the Premier League just turning into a set piece fest? Maybe it is. And we're getting pretty good at it. I'm not sure it's my exact favourite type of football to watch, but if it's effective, then you can't really complain.
No, you can't. But Billy, looking at it from a different point of view, like Everton fans will probably be looking at that and going, can the goalkeeper and Jordan Pickford be a little bit stronger? Of course, there's a little push from Van der Ven. What do you think?
Do you know what? On that, we had that all last season with Vicario. That we conceded that exact goal about 20 times last season, and we never got a single foul for it. So the game is the game. I think that'd be a really extremely soft foul to give on Jordan Pickford. Even David Moyes, again, like Ash said earlier, shout out Moyes. He said it wasn't a foul as well. I think that would be a really soft example. But we've been the other side of that so many times last season. I was sick of seeing it by the end of it. And then I don't think that was a clear example of a foul, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much. George, can I come to you? Because it was, as Billy said there, another goal from a set piece. They're becoming a bit of a key weapon, aren't they, under Thomas Frank?
Yeah, and I think it's funny because obviously it was something that Ange pretty much blatantly ignored, and we've almost gone the complete opposite. Rather than this almost total attacking football, we've gone for, well, we're just going to utilize every set piece possible, whether that's the throw-ins, corners, free kicks, whatever it might be. So yeah, it's safe to say we've definitely kind of swapped over now. And look, I mean, it's all part of football, right? I think the amount of times you see, I saw like BBC Sport yesterday do a table for the Premier League so far if it was only open play goals and this, that, and the other. And it's just like, well, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. Like, it's the points on the board is the points on the board. And I think if it's all part of football, you've got to utilize it to the best of your ability. I agree with what Billy was saying, that it's definitely not the most entertaining to watch. It feels a bit slow, especially when you're seeing Danzo's throw-ins. He's taken ages just to get everything ready, throw it in, nothing ends up coming from it. But a lot of football is about the small margins, and this is like the free kicks and corners and whatever. That's definitely part of it. And I think, as again Billy said there, stick your biggest guy in the middle, block the goalkeeper. You're increasing your odds of goals tenfold rather than not having a plan for it. I just think what I would like going forward is it just not to be over reliant on this, because I've clowned Arsenal fans for the last 2 years of being set piece FC, and we've basically become the same thing. What I'd like to see is us being able to take advantage of corners with clever plays or clever positioning of players, but then also find a way to progress really well driving through the middle of the pitch, which is something we improved on in the first half, but in general, we've not really been that good at this season. So, yeah, look, great thing to take advantage of. I just think we need to do better in the rest of the pitch as well.
No, I agree with you. Thank you. I think you've got to get that balance, haven't you, from where you're really effective from set pieces, you treat them seriously and can get the edge over the opponents, which I think all of us can be, and the panel can be in agreement with. We've been very good from set pieces so far under Frank, but you don't want to become reliant on them, because some would say now, George, and I'll get your thoughts on this, that Spurs at the moment, if you take away Mohamed Kudus and you take away set pieces, then we struggle to score in games. Do you buy that at all?
Oh, massively. And I think we've missed Solanke loads because, as I know, he didn't get as many goals as we might have thought last year. But when you even just simply think about his link-up play that he had under Ange and his strength in the middle of the park, I think there's been a few games this season where when Richie's played and he's trying to hold off both centre-backs, he just doesn't quite have that ability. Whereas you think Solanke might be able to do that. I think with Frank's track record of what he can do with strikers, someone like Solanke, I think, would benefit massively from him being from coaching him. So, and then when you look at the rest of the front line, without Kudus, Odebear, as much as I think he's definitely improved with the game time, not exactly a goal scorer, not very prolific, not got that many assists. And in fact, I think his only assist was for the own goal in one of the matches so far. And Xavi's still trying to find his feet. His only assist so far is coming in the West Ham game. We don't really have that many goals or assists in the front line that isn't coming from Kudus. So, yeah, I think we need to hopefully develop that as time goes on, like I said, but maybe when Solanke's back, or even just simply Frank coaching the likes of Odebear or whoever it might be that is like your regular left winger, your regular number 10. I think we need to find a way to get goals across the whole front line. But for now, I guess we're just going to have to rely on the centre-backs to pull do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. As long as we're winning games, and then we'll worry about what comes next.
Exactly.
Exactly that. No, thank you, George. I think absolutely, and that's why I think of it as well. Solanke, I mean, how good could he be? When comes back, I just think at Bournemouth as well, how good he done was when balls were in the box. Don't get me wrong, there was heavily relied on, but Thomas Frank's all about putting balls in the box. And I come to you, Ashmatic, about that, because I know that you love your tactics and analyse things deeply. What do you think? Talk to me. Dominic Solanke, when he comes back from injury in this Tottenham side under Frank, all these balls coming in the box, Kudus here, Porro there, Odebear if he's playing. Do you think he can really thrive and maybe make that position his?
I think the main thing with Solanke would be as George eloquently said it earlier about hold-up play. When we're missing that physicality, the link play as well. We missed that a lot when he can combine and bring other players, because in my opinion, there's been a lot of attacks and transitions broken down. And one thing a lot of Spurs fans may have thought about Thomas Frank is that will be a good counter-attacking team, a fast, strong, transitional team. And that hasn't really yielded at the moment, in my opinion. And I think with time, we're only like one or two key passes away. I think there was a time when there was a lovely ball played into Moani, which we spoke about already, where he's kind of done the flick into Xavi Simons, and he's carried the ball into the position, and he's had on his left Jed Spence, in the middle he's had Kudus, and in the far right he's had Johnson, and the ball somehow got underneath his feet. I don't know if he was trying to scan whilst he was running, or if he was trying to do a no-look pass. I'm not too sure. But for whatever reason, the ball broke down. And I think another day, he lays that ball into someone like Spence. Spence hits it across the box, just like an Ange ball. And you see Johnson back post finish, and that's a goal. And then all of a sudden, we're no longer talking about just set pieces or just Kudus being good on the right, because I think Frank's done well to kind of move Kudus centrally in that game. I know it wasn't like outstanding, but I still feel like he's got the ability, just like a Solanke, to hold that ball up. I think when we do go long, we don't want to play through the press, or we don't want to build out from the back. Kudus is really strong at getting the ball. So imagine having a double threat or double edit way of getting out with Solanke, looking after that ball, bringing the ball down under control, using his physicality, using his height, and then playing it off to either of our attacking players. And then also Solanke, I think last season we didn't see much of his box threat, and I would like to see maybe a lot that improved a bit more. And the fact that Frank is tinkering, he is probably thinking about how can we be more sustainable at the front end of the pitch. Do you know what I mean? And so this is why fans are talking about maybe when all players are fit, like Romero. We know Romero touched pitch on a training ground. Maybe we have Romero, Danso, and Van der Ven as a back three, and we use the doggy when he's fit, and Porro or even Spence as up and down wing backs, and then we allow maybe we have two up top as strikers, and that could be a different dynamic. So you never know what could happen in the future. It depends on who's available, what Frank sees fit. But I like the fact that he was kind of experimenting with Kudus. I thought even on the first half, sorry to go on a tangent, but in the first half I saw Kudus bearing to the right, but on the second half I saw him bearing to the left a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? And that could be to help Xavi in that little pocket at times build up, because sometimes when Xavi looks to his right, there's no one running him in, but in that pocket, no one running beyond him, if that makes sense. So he hasn't got a little can't combine on that left hand side to do two touches, and then because that's what Xavi likes to do. He doesn't always like to carry the ball. Sometimes he likes to be intricate 1-2 passes. So, but yeah, coming back to that Solanke point, I just think he'll be massive addition to Spurs because he is experienced in the Premier League, more importantly than what Muani is, and so he's going to add that extra element because he's going to have those relationships with the players also.
Okay, thank you very much. It's good to hear. I mean, we all want this competition, so it's good. We have a lot of strikers, whether they have the quality or not, who knows, but hopefully over time they can all prove themselves and get a nice little competition, because you're going to get players injured as well. You know, you just need people as well across all competitions. That's good. And like Tell not being in that Champions League squad allows an opportunity to prove himself in other competitions as well. So it doesn't mean it's necessarily over because you're not playing in one. I think we're going to see complete rotation in particular in the next few games. But at half time it was Everton 0, Tottenham 2. Billy, what are your thoughts overall on that first half? Did we deserve that lead? Oh, he's dropped. I'll give it to you, George. What do you think about it?
Yeah, good way to go out there.
Good timing, yeah.
No, the first half, I thought, like I was saying earlier, I think there was definitely some improvements in terms of how we were building up. Like you were saying there, Ash, about when there were moments where Xavi Simons sort of had it and was driving forward. Obviously, it broke down in the end, but even Van der Ven was making some nice passes out the back, which we haven't really been used to seeing. There's been quite an over-reliance on Romero and Porro doing that. So that was good. I think Bentancur was improved at doing that as well. I think as much as I wanted Johnson to play, and I thought we could take advantage of him, you know the way he likes to run in sort of behind the defenders, because they have their fullbacks really high at home, and they only have their two centre backs there, so there was space to take advantage of. But I do feel like maybe we didn't get the ball right to be in the right place. Maybe he wasn't making the right runs. He wasn't as effective as I thought he would be. But what I liked about him being in the team, and as well as Spence being higher up, is it allowed Kudus and Xavi to play a little bit more centrally. And I think a team like Everton look to just try and win duels. And I think when you have Xavi as like the lone attacking mid, number 10 in the middle, the problem that we've seen so far is he's a little bit weak. And I think their midfielders, could have eaten him up throughout the match. Whereas sticking Kudus a little bit more central, because he's so physical and so strong, despite not being one of the tallest players, I think that really helped us sort of keep the ball in the middle of the park when we needed to, and then get it out wide to, I don't know if it's Spence or if it's Xavi Simons, or out wide to Johnson or Kolo Muani or whoever it might be. So it did look a bit better, but I think when it came to shots in the first half, it didn't feel like we had that many still, and there was that still little bit of reliance on the corners and set pieces. And I think we just had to do a good job at trying to stop them from, obviously I know there was a disallowed goal, but the way Iliman Ndiaye was playing, I think he's a fantastic footballer. Someone I had really high up on my list in the summer. I think even when we would double up, I think it was Xavi Simons and Spence were doubling up on him, and he was still able to create the space, whether that's for a whip or to go past them. So he's a really exciting talent that I thought had a really good game against us, and was unfortunate not to get an assist with some of the crosses he had in towards Beto and Grealish. So yeah, mixed bag. There were little improvements in progression. But ultimately, it was still the set pieces that really saved us in that half to give us that cushion and allow to be a little bit slower paced in the second half.
Personally agree with that. I think it'd be fair to say, but with Ilman and Dye, I mean, what a player. I don't know about you, George, but 2 minutes in, he does that. He beats Spence and puts the ball in the box. It leads to Grealish, the block shot, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we're in for a tough afternoon here. So he's even started the game well. I was like, oh,
no, definitely. We all used to the Spence penitentiary, and I feel like it's safe to say he wasn't quite locked up in this game. But I was waiting for him to tweet afterwards to see if he would do it anyway and take the mick. But quality player. Could you imagine if we had him on one side and Kudus on the other? My goodness, it would be terrifying for oppositions. But whether Everton entertain that in January, who knows? It might take a lot of this and maybe a bit of Richarlison to sweeten the deal. But who knows? Fingers crossed in my eyes.
Absolutely. Then bring Semenya in as well, and you've got three absolute class wingers. Bring them all in. We might be able to achieve something special there. Frank was asked about a title race. I mean, it could be possible if we sign those two. You never know.
Premier League, Champions League. Hey, we're going for it all. We're going for it all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, quadruple. Thank you very much, George. Billy, I'll come back to you now. You're back. Moving on to the second half, 54th minute. Vicario makes a save close up from an overhead kick from Beto. I mean, it's a great save, isn't it? Because he could potentially know it's coming, but it's really close range, isn't it?
Yeah, unbelievable reaction save. He did a couple of those against Monaco and another couple yesterday. It's an absolutely unbelievable save, to be honest. When you look at the reaction time that he had to get there, and you see it in real life. Yeah, just an absolutely fantastic save. And I think it was, again, as I mentioned just now, that's 2 games in a row where he saved us. He's been up for a lot of stick this season, some of it rightly so, some of it maybe a bit harsh. The Villa game he was getting a bit of stick for. I think it was the Leeds goal that we conceded. Again, there was a deflection in that one that he got a bit of stick for too, but I think he's really fought back in the last couple of games and showing everyone why he's such a good shot stopper. Yeah, amazing save, man.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was, you guessed it, Ilman and Dye causing the problems again, putting the ball in the box, which led to the chance for Beto. Says a surprise.
As Ash was saying earlier with Richarlison, if we can somehow get them to get Richarlison, we get and Dye, yes please, all day long. Brilliant player, man. Really good player.
Billy, how much do you think money will be involved? I mean, it's completely difficult at the moment because Richarlison get injured, but it's hard to predict.
I think you're looking at 60, 70, 80 million for him because he's 25 years old. Everton have no business in wanting to send him at the moment. They're just, they have aspirations of becoming essentially the kind of club that we are at the moment. New stadium. I think they've got new owners in the last couple of years as well, different owners or something like that. They're in no position to be wanting to sell this guy. So we're looking at a big bid, I would say 70 plus million to get anywhere near it. So if we can use Richarlison as well, great. But otherwise, I just can't see a world where they want to sell this guy because he's brilliant.
100%, but who doesn't want to play under Thomas Frank at the moment? I mean, look what Everton are on the table, where Tottenham are. Some would say, I mean, £100 million cash injection as well. Spend that on the likes of Ndai would be good, but we'll have to see what happens. Fingers crossed. But 58th minute, there was the first booking of the game. It went to James Garner of Everton. Then the 61st minute, Spurs made a double substitution. On come Lucas Bergvall and Richarlison, and off went Xavi Simons and Kolo Muani. Then in the 64th minute, Richarlison, 3 minutes after coming on, looking to make the instant impact, 1-on-1 versus Jordan Pickford. Ashmatic, I come to you. Should Richarlison be burying that? Because Pickford looks uncertain whether he's coming or going. And you look at his kind of reaction. He's, fearing the absolute worst here. Should we have taken this chance and put the game to bed a lot earlier?
Yeah, of course he should have. But what's funny? Pickford all made it a joke with him. He was like, I thought you were going to dig me, but you ain't got that in your locker. And he was like, oh, whatever, man, shut up. That's what I thought you said. I'm saying that's what's happened. But, here we go. But I think when that ball's gone over the top and he's kind of ruffled the defender's feathers by just being on his shoulder, getting the run on him, I just thought once Porro sends that ball over and it bounces, rather than because you got to just hit it with the side of the foot just to flatten it. Because I think he got underneath it a little bit too much, and then the flight of the ball went up, and then it was Pickford's always going to save it because he's making himself nice and big. But I think he's got to put that away, in my opinion. Like football's, as you guys have already alluded to, is about small margins. Those are the margins, and that's the difference between us and them. Between the teams that are like the minnows, they have a finish. They've got problems with finishing their chances. We get a chance. We need to put those ones away. And as harsh as it sounds, at this level, you just need to be clinical, bro. Like, that's the chance you're not going to get every day and every game. So when you're 1-on-1 with a keeper and you've got that chance, whether it be a half volley, whether it be on the floor, you just got to put it in the back of the net. And that's what we need. We need that ruthlessness. We need killers. And if you're not going to put away the chances that are put on a plate for you, you've got to at least create chances for others, which he did do, to be fair. But that particular chance, I just think, had we not scored those set pieces, we'll be having a lot of strong words with him. I'm telling you. So it's just as well the keeper saved it, Pickford.
He might have been left in Everton, you know, if he'd been in that situation and had taken those set pieces. But no, I think you make a good point. But George, I'm sure you're in agreement here that you should be burying this, should Richarlison. But do you think Jordan Pickford deserves some credit? Makes himself big. It's what he's good at, you know, closing down that opportunity.
No, look, yeah, I think Jordan Pickford gets a lot of stick, I think, from a lot of fans, and a lot of people wonder why is he still England's number one. But I think he's proven time and time again that he's a quality goalkeeper, and he did a very good job at coming out, making himself big. The only thing, and I don't know if you remember looking at it back, I think Richarlison just waited too long. It took one bounce, and I thought then that should have been your snapshot to try and get into the bottom corner, but he waited for one more, and by that point, Pickford did such a good job at coming out so quick that any shot that he's now hitting towards goal, it's hard to find the corners because Pickford's effectively got his body covered from that angle. So, yeah, I think I'm in agreement. I think when we're at this level now of, and especially because at the moment with the way we're playing, we're not creating so many chances from open play. We really, really need a striker that can just bury these chances. And I think, unfortunately for Richarlison, like, I love Richarlison as a person. Like, you see, he comes across as amazing. He seems to have a purple patch every now and again where you think, oh, this could be it. Then usually he gets injured. But obviously this time he's managed to stay all right. But if we've not got a striker that is finishing those chances, we are going to struggle later on in the season. So I'm intrigued to see how Thomas Frank views his strikers going forward, because I think Colomwani had a good 60 minutes there. And it's sort of playing in your mind, like, what could he have done in that same situation? We don't know yet because we haven't seen enough of him. But if he is someone that would have finished that chance, then I think Richarlison's going to quickly find himself down the pecking order.
Quite possibly. And George, I mean, whether we got the quality or not, like I said, I mean, he's up for debate, but we've certainly got the depth, haven't we? You know, people forget about, you know, Tell can play as a striker, mainly has, I think, so far this season under Frank. You've got, of course, Dane Scarlett, Richarlison, Solanke, Mwani. We've got a lot at our disposal, a lot to choose from, and maybe a good headache for Frank to have.
Yeah, it's definitely beaten a lot of the previous seasons where we've had maybe just Kane or just a striker and then no one else, and we're doing sort of crazy. Wasn't it by the end of one of the seasons we had Kulusevski playing a false nine at one point because we just didn't have any other options, and having to come up with some madness like that. And I think Sonny's had to play striker so much for us because of that reason as well. It is good to have the options for sure, 100%. But like we just said there, I think the quality is probably going to be the most important thing going forward now in the future windows, because it's all well and good having those options to rotate in matches just to keep legs fresh. But at the end of the day, if, say, for example, we rotate against Newcastle and we can't score because the quality is not there, then we're in a bit of trouble. So I think we need to have that bit of balance of having the options, but also recognize really and truly, are they good enough to start in these highly competitive games?
Very interesting thoughts. I think we could talk strikers all day at Tottenham, but let's hope they're doing something for us and produce on the pitch.
Exactly.
Thank you, George. That's what we want. Goals, and win more wins, and keep up the good form at this start of the season, especially away from home. But the 66th minute, Everton made a double substitution. Off come Beto and Jacob Bryan, and on come Thieno Barry, their other striker, their young striker. They've only got two now. They've lost Calvert-Lewin, who they let go, and Merlin Roll, and the new signing, come on. I mean, Billy, it certainly wasn't Beto's day. I asked you, didn't I, earlier about the overhead kick. I mean, just things like that just didn't quite click for him. He had one where Everton fans are frustrated with him, but they didn't maybe see the touch that Van de Ven got on it. How do you view Beto as, like, looking at it from an outside point of view? Do you think he's the answer to Everton's problems, or do they need to kind of have a look at the January market?
Yeah, if I was an Everton fan, I'd be quite frustrated with this guy. I don't think he's got the quality. From what I've seen, I mean, I very rarely watch Everton play, to be quite honest with you. But I think if you've got Grealish and Ndiaye as your wingers, a really good striker in the middle would be a handful for any team. And I don't think that's better. I think it could be, I'd love them to sign Richarlison, to be honest with you. That'd be fantastic for us. I love Richarlison, the character. I think he's an amazing guy. He obviously feels at home at Everton. I've seen that he was reposting some stuff yesterday about being at home and stuff. So I just think that'd be a great story for everyone, and a perfect game for Richarlison, perfect for Tottenham, perfect for Everton. And I just really hope that it happens in summer.
It's a good point. There's somebody who likes Richarlison. I just think sometimes you have to be maybe a little bit harsh and go, look, let's move you on, but also recognise what's best for the player, and that more minutes you would think, and probably happier there. So we'll have to see what happens there. Thank you, Billy, for that. In the 71st minute, Jack Grealish was booked for Everton. We actually didn't get any players booked in this game, which is a real positive. I mean, early on, you often get players booked, so try and stamp their authority, try and secure their place in the team. 72nd minute, Vicario denies, you guessed it, Iliman Ndiaye. George, I come to you because we've talked several times already about Ndiaye. It's only fair I keep throwing these questions at you.
Yeah.
Do you think this one's a better save, maybe than the overhead kick that I asked Billy about with Beto, because he's unsighted potentially, and it certainly takes a couple of deflections in there, even if they're slight.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that Beto one, like Billy said earlier, it's to have the reaction so quick for, I guess, an acrobatic goal where you don't quite know exactly where it's going to go is extremely impressive. But you know what? I think Vicario for me is just that whole game whenever there was any quick shots, snapshots, like you say, if there was ever any deflections or bodies in the way, I think he's reacted so quickly to be able to push the ball out wide or over the bar, and to be honest, actually held on to a few more than I thought he would than we're used to seeing this season. So no, I think a lot of credit needs to go to him these last couple of games, because without him, we all know we'd be in quite a bit of trouble. And Iliman Ndiaye, what can I say? We've already spoken how much we rate him. I think he's such a good player, and I think hopefully, fingers crossed, we see more of that next year in Spurs colours, but who knows?
Fingers crossed, it's got to happen after this podcast. Fingers crossed. Thank you very much, George. 77th minute then, Spurs made just a single substitution this time. On come Papsar, we'll talk about him in a little bit, I'm sure, and off come Mohamed Kudus. Then 86th minute, because a bit of a lull at that period of the game, Everton did make a sub, and they brought on Carlos Alcaraz for Ghana Gay. Then in the 89th minute, we talk about Papsar. He's certainly coming back into discussion here because Spurs got the third goal, the icing on the cake, cherry on top, whatever you want to call it, and it was through Papsar. I mean, Ashmatic, a lovely worked goal, wasn't it? I mean, in that stage of the game, you always think, players get leggy and, you just want to break and score. But it was actually a really well-worked move from Spurs. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it was the first time we were actually composed in position in open play. And it was just... we did everything simple. It wasn't too flashy, it wasn't too flamboyant. We weren't too slow, but we weren't too quick. It was somewhere in the middle. And it was all started from defense. We won the ball back. I think it was Mickey van der Ven that won the ball back. I'm not sure if it was Paulinho. But anyway, it broke to Bergvall. Bergvall gets the ball, does well. And as I remember him just finding Pap Sarr in space. And that's where you want relationships. That's what we often talk about on the pitch. You want midfielders to stand not completely adjacent, meaning side by side. You want them to stand almost at an angle to receive the ball. And that's what happened when you saw Bergvall kind of run, carry the ball, checked his run, cut back inside, found Sarr. Sarr kept it very simple. He just laid it off down the line. It's eventually broken into Porro. And he just continued his run on. He's kept running on. The ball gets fired across the box. Richarlison's on the end of it. He sees Richarlison. Richarlison does a nice cushion header, unselfish, right across the box. Papsar's running into the box. He sees it. Johnson's slightly behind him as well. So if he doesn't get there, Johnson's there also to attack that back post. Johnson also knowing where to be at the right time. But the goal happens through Sarr's just his work rate, his ability to crash the box. That's what he was brought on to do as well. Give that extra energy, extra exuberance. And he's just a player that just gets on with it. I think people love him because he's got a bit of Sonny about him. I don't know if that makes sense. Like in terms of his likeness. I remember when he did score the goal, he didn't celebrate too much because one of his a professional player that he knows very well, I think he's from the Ivory Coast, passed away. And so he wasn't in the best of moods. But every player came up to him and they congratulated him. They gave him either a hug or a pat on the head, kind of like trying to be supportive towards him. And a lot of Spurs fans didn't know that at the time. So they kind of looked at it like, oh, is he not happy about not being in the side, not being in the squad? But actually, I think that him, coming on, being professional, scoring a goal, waiting his turn, just kind of puts it all around, his personality, his character, what type of person he is. And I'm so happy that he got that goal. And hopefully he can get a run in the game or run in the team where he can show what he's about and he can continue this type of form as well. Because I remember in that documentary, you guys saw the Madison one, and he's like, hey, have that sauce. I need you to score 15 goals for me this season, bro. You're going to do that for me? And he's laughing. He said, you know what I'm saying? So I need Papa to come and, get the goals that we know he can do, bro. You know what I'm saying?
And Ashmatic, he's been excellent, hasn't he, so far this season? I mean, talk to me, because in terms of your tactics point of view, where do you see him best? Is it an 8? Is it in the 10 more centrally?
I see him as an 8 because, yes, he's not technical. He hasn't got the vision of a 10. And when I say technicality, I mean seeing the pass 3 steps ahead, like having that vision to see, like, okay, the striker's here. How can I progress the ball when I'm under pressure? When do I keep it simple and short and then move into space? When do I hit it long to kind of speed up the play? Do I have the accuracy? Am I press resistant? Am I able to get on a half turn and then dribble? Am I able to carry into, do you know what I mean? So there's so many elements and there's different types of 10s. So you could argue that he's the type of 10, a bit more like a Dele Alli that box crashes, but I think Dele Alli had a bit more technical ability about him. So that's why I separate the two. In him and Papsar, skill levels a little bit different. The guile as well. Ali had a bit more guile about him, a bit more rough edge. I think Sarr, again, his engine is what everyone talks about, his work rate, his ability to kind of help defend and then get up the pitch and then attack. He's that type of 8, in my opinion. And I think that's why a lot of fans, Spurs fans, really like him. But he does need to work on a lot of things. As I said, first time passes, medium to long passing. He can switch the play, he can spray, but that's not something we associate a Pape Sarr with. Shots from outside the box, he does do that. He does that well. We saw his goal from in the air, so his aerial ability is there as well. But just having that extra X factor to be a 10, someone that can carry Spurs. I'm not sure if he's that kind of player, but as an 8, someone that can be on the pitch, play alongside someone, he's going to be able to be a more progressive player without the ball, if that makes sense. That's my opinion.
Okay. No, it's fine. Thank you. No. Thank you very much, Ashmatic. I only asked because when I've seen him like centrally in that 10, he's really impressed me. So I wanted to ask, is this kind of, do you see it as a temporary thing or a permanent thing? So I appreciate you.
Yeah, I just see him as a box crasher. That's what I see. And I associate 8s being the box crasher, in my opinion. But a 10, for me, plays closer and they're a part of the if we're playing, for example, a 3-2-5, he's a part of the 5, or 4-2-4, he's a part of the attacking line. Whereas I see Sarr more as a central midfielder in the kind of midfield range, defends and attacks equally. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's just great. Thank you very much. I mean, you know a lot more about tactics than I do, so I absolutely take your word for that. Thank you, Ashmatic, for that. Billy, can I come to you? I mean, Richarlison, we've spoken a little bit negatively about him so far. I think raised some, valid points and criticisms though. But does he deserve his, fair share of praises for his not back in this goal to get the assist?
Oh yeah, it's a great header. I think it's interesting with Richarlison actually because we tend to do a lot of crossing without him on the pitch when he's clearly our best aerial striker by some way. He's a really good aerial threat in the box, and we don't really tend to see him get much chances to get on the end of Poro crosses. We tend to cross into Tell, who is not good in the air, and Moana, we haven't really crossed into him. We've been more playing to feet, but I think if we're going to spam these crosses, which Thomas Frank talks about that he likes to do, and Richarlison, is a big threat for that. So yeah, I don't think there's one part of his game which I think is really, really good. It's his aerial ability, and it's a really smart header, really good header, and also a good finish from Sarr as well. Not the easiest to have to play a header assist. So yeah, really good play. And I do kind of think Richarlison is just like It's just kind of a little bit frustrating because I really like the player. I just kind of think he lacks the consistency and mentality to be a top striker. We saw it at the beginning of the season where he's brilliant for 3 or 4 games, and he hasn't managed to get to that level since. I think Richarlison is always about what ifs, and it's a shame because he's such a good character. But I just kind of feel like he doesn't quite have the consistency to be at the very top level that we need. And I think we will look to upgrade him in summer, which is a shame because he's a great guy.
Does anyone think that he is better utilized on the left? Because I'm hearing this narrative quite a bit.
At end of last season, I thought he was really good on the left. And in the Europa League final, he was brilliant on the left.
That's pretty much where he played for Everton until the last season, right? It was him on the left with Calvert-Lewin up front. And I think maybe there are some games it doesn't quite work because he's not like a 1v1 winger. He's not going to be able to take on people if we're sitting in a low block or anything, up against a low block, sorry. But no, definitely, I think left is good because he could keep the fullback and centre back on that side quite busy, whilst maybe our attacking mids go through the lines and he gets the ball in the box. Who knows?
He was really good there in the Europa League final, wasn't he? Definitely.
Played a very important part, and he has, a couple of times, hasn't he, in Europe, played on that left-hand side, and I think he does have something to offer, so a little bit different than maybe we don't have, but it'd be fair to say, I think we can all be in agreement that maybe someone hasn't made that position theirs at left wing yet. We could argue the same for striker. George, I mean, at this point, do you think Everton are overcommitting for that third goal? Like they put in too many men forward, they made a change that it was a bit more attacking, forward thinking. So was that a case of, we're counter-attacking and found the kind of gaps in the Everton back line at that point?
Yeah, I think it plays into our hands at that point, like you say, because 2-0 down, they have to go for something. They have to go for the goals. They're not just going to sit back and just say, 2-0. Oh, fine. Yeah, we'll just take the loss. So, and look, with Frank, who prides himself on the counter-attacking ability, like he did at Brentford, it's perfect because they effectively isolate themselves at the back with just their 2 centre-backs. And even then, at some point, they were committing the centre-backs forward and they weren't. I'm trying to think of who was back at that point. I think it was only 1 centre-back and then maybe a couple of fullbacks, if that. So, yeah, I think it definitely helped us. On the whole Sarr thing as well, I think he's brilliant is those second runs. If the ball was played up long to usually Richarlison, actually, it's happened in a couple of games earlier in the season, who was able to maybe flick it on because of his better heading ability. Sarr is always there at the right time to pick up the loose balls. And he's arguably just done that further up the pitch inside the box this time. He started, like Ash was saying earlier, he started all the way back when we won the ball in defence, ran all the way forward and arrived at the perfect time for that when that ball came across to him was in the best position. And I think I remember Frank did a brilliant interview with James Alcott, and his whole philosophy was just, you're going to score more goals if you get yourselves in the highest XG positions, the highest places the best places to have the best chances to score. Sounds pretty obvious, but it's amazing how many teams don't do that. And like Ash was saying about his box crashing, I think the thing that Sarr is absolutely brilliant at is making those runs to be centrally in the best positions possible. And it's no wonder that his goals have sort of been ticking upwards since Frank joined. So it's very promising. I think hopefully something we see a bit more of when we come up against teams that maybe do overcommit some of their fullbacks or something going forward.
Fingers crossed. That's what we want to see more. Thank you very much, George. Billy, it ended 3-0 Tottenham. XG totally was, we got Everton were given 1.66 XG, Tottenham 2.25, but Tottenham were the first team to win at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. So technically, history makers, right? That will be remembered for a long time.
Yeah. And I still remember, unfortunately, that West Ham were the first team to win at our stadium. And just about every team has won there at least once since, but still, it's a good, nice one to have on the history books. I know that it means a lot to West Ham fans. They still go on about it all the time. They're the first team to win in our stadium. Yeah, big stadium, new stadium. Looks really, really good from what I could see. Obviously, a few Spurs fans that went said it's really good. And I just think it's more indicative of our brilliant away form. And I just hope we can translate it into the home form now because we've got 2 absolutely gigantic home games coming up next in Chelsea and Man United. So, yeah, let's hope that we can play like that again. I'm kind of a bit more optimistic for those because I feel like the big games will favour us under Frank. I think it's the low block teams which we're going to struggle against. So, yeah, bring it on.
It's going to be a great pub quiz question in the future, isn't it? The first team to win.
It is, yeah. One that we all certainly remember, I'm sure.
Although I did
But
see some
Billy,
people claiming that, because Man United women won there, and so did Wigan under 18. So depends on your
Right.
quiz, how much you want to go into detail.
It does. Well, you've got 3 different types of questions there, haven't you, really, if you think about it? But Billy, thanks so much for coming on. I know you've got to jump. Really appreciate your time. Where
Thanks,
can people
guys. Been a
follow
pleasure,
you?
and see you
Lastly,
guys soon. Big period coming up for Tottenham, so I'm sure I'll see you guys soon.
cheers, Billy. Thank you very much. There we go then. Billy has jumped. So we will continue now with the Everton review because Tottenham's unbeaten record away from home still stands. I mean, George, coming back to you, I know this is such a difficult question. I don't necessarily expect a black and white answer, but for you, how do we improve our home form? Is it a combination of lots of things? Is it one factor maybe that we're missing?
I know one of the guys said it earlier in the pod that definitely Bentancur Palhinha thing needs to be looked at. Do you know what? It's not even for me. It's not even just the fact that it's those two playing, because I think there has been some times where maybe Bergwijn or Gray have been there that they still sort of pass sideways. So maybe it's more of a Frank thing to look at. But if you look at the sort of passing maps of almost all of our home games from those central midfielders, it is just almost like 100% sideways. And I think a lot of teams, like whether it be Villa or, okay, Burnley ended up a good scoreline, but teams maybe like Burnley or so on and so forth, like a Wolves, they're going to come back and they're going to be so defensively tight, solid. They're going to sit deep. And those are the teams I think we struggle against the most because we become just so predictable. At the moment, it seems to be that our main plan is get the ball out wide to Porro go long to Kudus, and let's just hope that Kudus can produce some magic, whether that's a cross, a shot, whatever it may be. And that becomes really easy to defend if that's your only outlet, because a team like Wolves, for example, they can just sit compact, and even if they know the ball's going out that way, okay, maybe they double up on Kudus. Sometimes Kudus has been tripled up on. And we're kind of reluctant to go on the left-hand side sometimes because maybe we haven't nailed down the position, whether it's Odebear, Tell, even Colomawani's come on and moved to the left sometimes as well. So I think without having the option on both sides and not necessarily having the progression through the middle, our game becomes very one-dimensional and very easy to read. And I think that's happened a lot at home. Away from home, it works so much better because teams feel more comfortable pressing us. They come close, they've come further up the pitch. Everton did the same thing. Their fullbacks were high up the pitch, the centre-backs were at the halfway line. It creates more chances for us to go long, to hit on the counter with Kudus, Johnson, Colomawani, whoever it might be. And I think we don't have as many of those chances at home. So I don't know if there's a case of doing something to draw the players in a bit more, to maybe then hit them on the break. I don't know if it's a case of maybe choosing someone like Bergwijn, or even Gray, actually, who are really good at carrying the ball forward through the middle of the pitch. And maybe that can open it up for us. Obviously, the missing Maddison and Kulusevski is huge, right? Because they were so good at doing that for us in previous seasons, whether that's through a pass in Maddison or Decky driving the ball forward. We don't really seem to have that play at the moment, especially while Xavi Simons is sort of finding his feet. And then the final point for me would just be recruitment, and something we're going to have to work on in the next couple of windows. We all know someone like Adam Wharton would be unbelievable in midfield with the way he passes. Obviously, he might be unrealistic in terms of the price tag, but someone like him that is able to pass at the back. So we're not relying on Romero. You're not relying on Porro. I think there's a few of those things that over time will gradually happen. But for now, I think Frank just needs to work on ways on how we can progress the ball in different ways than just relying on Kudus, and stop making us predictable.
Some good points there. Thank you, George. Whatever needs to be done, let's get on with it. We want to be doing better at home. But Ashmatic, I'll come to you. How important is this win? Of course, every win, is important, in particular on the road. But does this feel significant? Maybe at a time where if we'd lost the game, a few questions would have been asked of Frank and his system, his approach in general, because that's how football things change so quick.
Yeah, I think this was massive 3 points, because at the time, people were talking about the style and the way we played and the way we progressed at home, especially. And so off the back of the draw in Monaco, that was a lot of people had a lot of questions about Frank, and of the loss against Aston Villa also combined, it wasn't really a happy mood in the Spurs camp, in my opinion. And we heard quotes from some of the players, Porro, talking about mentality. And when you hear the players talking about things, it can never be a good thing. So I definitely think us getting a win on the road. Also, I think Billy's also mentioned this already. The amount of games that we're going to have in the next, I'd say 5 to 6 games, when we're playing harder opposition, teams that are the typical Big Six. And also in the Champions League, we've got real difficult oppositions. We might not get many points or much joy from those games. So for me, it was very important that we beat teams like Everton, and we got wins against teams that are maybe not so in the Big Six. So I really thought this was an important time to pick up as many points as possible before we hit this run, because I was looking at November and I was like, this is the period where, it's either make or break. And if we don't have a nice buffer going into it, then the pressure could definitely be on Frank. And that's why I was so happy with the result over the performance, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much, Ashmatic. George, a new thing I've started doing is asking one member of the panel if they could choose just one word to describe the game, what they would choose. So what one word would you choose? And you can choose whether it could be about the performance or the results. So I'll leave that up to you.
One word for that game. I'm trying to. I think. Let's go with unit. And
Okay.
I mean that in multiple ways. I think in one way, that is Van der Ven, Danzo, absolute monsters at the back. And I also think it was just about the togetherness of the team as well, to really, like Ash was saying there, about really important getting results. I think that was you could see them all sort of fighting kind of right until the end to make sure that we kept that clean sheet and got a big win.
Thank you very much, George. I like that. I'm thinking a little bit outside of the box, but a very key word. Sticking with you though, George, do you think Frank deserves credit for his in-game management? Some have blasted him, like against Villa, where he's got 2 substitutions, one being Bergvall waiting to come on. I was one of them in particular. I was like, it's probably the right change, but like they're still being fed instructions. If we go and concede the goal, it just felt like really frustrated and a missed opportunities. But did he get it right in this game?
I think for the most part, yeah. I know a lot of fans online seem to be criticising some of the subs, especially because I think Xavi Simons was sort of growing into the game a little bit more at the start of that second half. The one thing I will say back to that to a lot of the fans though is I remember it was the first half he took that big knock, and I wasn't even convinced he was going to come out for the second half, to be honest with you, because he looked in quite a bad way, which I think it was around his knee. So maybe that was part of Frank's thinking, is like, look, we've got so many important games coming up. We're going to need him. There's no point risking him playing 90 minutes when we're already 2-0 up at that point. So in that respect, I think Frank did a good job. The second half did feel a little bit slower, a little bit more stale. I don't know if that was by design to maybe not overwork ourselves, considering we had the 2-goal cushion. But look, at the end of the day, if you're coming away from, I was about to say Goodison Park there, if you're coming away from the Hill Dickinson Stadium with a 3-0 win, clean sheet, somewhere we haven't won in 7 years, and he's changed the lineup, he's changed our build-up formation. If he's done all that and we've come away with a big win, I don't think you can really criticize the guy. And I think he did get pretty much all of it spot on in that sense.
Again, I think that's completely fair. Thank you, George, for that. I mean, I'm glad it's not just me. I nearly said to Goodison Park earlier. I was doing my match reaction. I was like, Spurs got 3 points and I went, hang on a minute. I was like, I thought when I look back, I was like, there's going to be a dramatic pause here. I've had to think about it, but surprisingly there wasn't. I was like, I nearly slipped up then. But hey ho, we're going to be, that's no excuse there in terms of we're going to need to get used to it. But it's still there. Goodison Park hasn't been completely demolished. So technically, it's not as bad, like you're saying, Wild Lane, when it is no longer there. So, trying to find us a little route out of this, George, here. But the point is, it's at the Hill Dickinson Stadium now. But Ashmatic, can I ask you about a few individuals? I'm going to ask you both before we get on to Newcastle. I want to speak about, of course, Mickey van der Ven. You've spoken about him several times already. Do you think he's taken that role of captain almost in his stride since Romero's been out? Because just look at Van der Ven and go, you've got everything. And maybe one thing I thought he could be missing was leadership, was that kind of captain in him. But I thought he led by example in this game. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely agree. I think Danso's an unsung hero. I think that a lot of people aren't talking about him, and I think that Mickey Van der Ven, I said it before, with Romero, I think he's rubbed off on him personally. And so that natural progression of him becoming a leader, him becoming a voice to reckon with, leading by example as well, scoring those goals, a lot of the players, they respect him. I think that we're going to see a lot more of that. The armband has just brought out a different side to him. And having a partner in Dancer, I mentioned him again, I think they work really well together. I think there's going to be a few more conversations that maybe that partnership might have to blossom a little bit, you know? I know Romero, you know, he's not far from coming back. And also Romero, in terms of our build-up play, is massive. He's super important in terms of drawing out the press, as we've spoken about before, and then punching through the lines with those passes. I get it. But in terms of defensive work, Danso, I think, had a record number of blocks, interceptions, and tackles for Tottenham against Everton. He got his head bust open as well. I had to see put Vaseline on his head, you know. And it's not the first time I've seen that. So that bravery could be rubbing off on Van der Ven also, like putting his head on something, you know. It's just together. I think both of them are showing that bravery, that courage that you need to step in to be top centre backs to help with the spine as well, because you've got also Paulinho in front of them, another warrior. Do you know what I mean? Bentancur, fierce, vicious, and all together, Vicario chatting, like Højbjerg, the spirits inside him, pointing and everything. So I just think that combined is rubbing off on Mickey Van der Ven, in my opinion. And may long it continue, because, as I said before, he can be our Dutch Gabriel. He really can, meaning that he can be a leader amongst men. And I wouldn't be surprised if Real Madrid are taking notes and they're listening in right now, Harry. You know, El Clasico was just gone. Levy was there at Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Hey, listen, there's a guy called Mickey. I don't know if you guys know him. Listen, hands off. He's ours. But no, on a serious note, I just was really impressed, as I said before, not just as the box defending, because he was aerially strong, like defending, not even talk about the attacking, not even talk about like that Vuskovic, you know, type of headers in the goal. I'm talking about his anticipation to kind of block crosses, block shots, stop play, defending high up as well. And then, as I said before, on the ball, not afraid to kind of test his long ball ability, you know, switching it out. I was like, what? This is Mickey. Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. Listen, hey, Mickey. I'm really impressed with him. That was a top man of the match by a clear country mile performance. And yeah, he's been our most consistent player in a Spurs shirt this season. He has. Because there was a lot of question marks, just to finish off, that people weren't sure about his defending because of his recovery runs. And that's what they thought he was, you know, last ditch. And you know what? The rival fans, they were saying Mickey Van der Ven's a better defender than Romero. And Spurs fans were like, no, you guys aren't respecting Romero. But there's going to be arguments within the Spurs fans. I can see it now, because this guy.
What do you think? Who's better for you?
This season, Van der Ven's come on his own. Right now, Romero's got the experience. He's got the, you know what I mean? But I think Mickey's not far behind, bro. He's like I said, he's got that Vertonghen about him. Do you know what I mean? So, hey, listen. Hey, I don't know, man. If I talk too much, I might get in trouble. So let me put myself on mute.
Love that. Well, tell you what, take yourself off mute, because I've got one more question actually for you, Ashmatic. You mentioned Kevin Danso. I'm not trying to get you in trouble here. Don't worry, I'll move on from that. But with Danso, I totally agree with you. But do you think he's our kind of best third centre back? I hate to use the word backup centre back, so I'll say third centre back. Is he the best we've had for quite a long time? Because you talk about reliable with Van der Ven. I mean, Danso's quite reliable. Can't remember the last time he made a mistake, if any.
You know what? Look, this is why people call him for the back three, because they don't want to push him out. They don't, Harry. Listen, they want him as the third centre back, and we know Romero likes to jump into that midfield. You know what I'm saying? He used to play that at Atalanta. He used to play like that way. You don't have to have a DM per se. Do you know what I mean? And you can push your midfielders further forward, because I feel like when we're playing with Paulinho and Bentancur
Bentancur drops in between the centre backs to make the back three, or you've got Porro as a third leg, or what happens is you see Bentancur drop in the fullback position to progress the ball, which means you have one less midfielder progressing the ball centrally or in the attack. Am I making sense? And when you've got one less midfielder and you're trying to build out the left-hand side, and Palhinha, listen, for me, one of his best defensive performances in Spurs shirt against Everton. He was phenomenal, right? Spurs, big up to their social media team. They've done like a little spotlight on him, and he's cleaning up, man. Go check it out if you haven't seen it on the X or Instagram. Go look at it. But for me, in possession, he's very safe with the ball, meaning when he gets the ball, he doesn't want to risk it. So what he will do, and this is what I saw when I was analyzing the game, the reason why Xavi couldn't progress the ball is because he likes to combine, meaning he likes to two-touch. And Palhinha, what he does is instinctively, he will want to not risk it, and he will pass it backwards to one of the centre-backs when being pressed. And I make sure I put an exclamation mark on that, because when he has space, you know, he will look forward, but he's not a person to have his head on a swivel, one touch turn, boom, play out, or bounce pass. When I say bounce pass, I mean like a pass that comes in and you just first time give it back, and then Xavi can run into space. And the point I'm making, the reason why I've gone on this tangent is because with the back three, the midfield, as I said before, you're having one midfielder out of that pivot. If we're playing a 3-2-5, you only have one man in the middle of the pitch. The rest of the players are up top. Who's giving the service? Like, how are we going to create for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that front line, or even the 4, especially if Xavi's out wide at times? Do you know what I mean? And it can't just be Xavi by himself. He needs to combine with someone. So for me, that's where the issues come in our build-up, or why our build-up breaks down, why we're not so fretful in transition, why we can't build up slowly to medium, the tempo setting, the rhythm. That's what football is all about. That's why it's slightly off. And it's about the way the player is receiving the ball when they first receive the ball. He's right-footed. We've got so many right-footers, and we're trying to play out from our left. Do you see what I'm trying to say? You've got Bentancur, a right-footer. He's on the left. You've got Palhinha, sometimes drift to the left. He's right-footed. You've got Xavi Simons. He's right-footed. Do you understand? You've got Spence. When he receives the ball, the reason it doesn't come back to Simons is because he wants to touch the first touch on his right foot. He can't open up his hips, go on his left, play it down the line, or open up his hips from his left, take his first touch, get it out of his feet, and then progress. No, he's got to check back in. So it's all basically, it's all interlinked. That's what I'm saying. Sorry to go around the circle, because obviously we're talking about Danso. I was talking about back threes, but I went elsewhere. But you see what I'm trying to say? I just think having a Danso there, having a Mickey van der Ven, having a Romero, that just adds a different dimension for one of the midfielders to say, look, Frank can say, all right, you can risk it a little bit more, help with our progression. And I think that's how we solve some of the stylistic issues at home. You know, we could be a bit more front-footed. We could be more, because we see a lot of teams that are more aggressive. You see Arsenal, they have Saliba and Gabriel, and then you might have Zubimendi, but then Rice is pushing on as the left 8. Yeah, he's pushing on. Then you've got what's his name? Eze. He's the right 8. He's also pushing on. So you've got 2 midfielders up. We don't have that. Why? Do you understand? These are the questions you have to ask. Where is it failing? Why is it not moving? Why are we looking so clunky? Why are we losing the ball in possession when we're trying to progress? We're always losing it. We're always either too fast when we're trying to play out, or some people might say we're too slow, or we overhit passes, or we underhit passes. Underhit meaning it's just behind the person, which slows the transition down because it's not in front of the person. Because we're either trying to play it the first time, or we try to take a touch, and then we try to take a touch, it slows it down, and then we overhit and we lose the ball. Bentancur's done it many times because his head's not on a swivel. Palhinha's head's definitely not on a swivel. He's not checking shoulders and mirrors, so he has to play what he sees. And that's what happens when you're right-footed and your brain of your right-hand side, you automatically don't have that vision because you're always thinking from that right-hand side of the brain, if that makes sense. But yeah, man, big up Danso.
Love that. We went around there. I love that. It's just a perfect analysis. That's why I come to you, you know, for your tactical analysis. So thank you, Ashmatic, for that. George, I want to talk about one more individual, but before we get there, on the back three, I mean, this is something that Thomas Frank has played, quite a few times in his Brentford career. Do you think he will refer to a back three at any point? And if he does, do you see it for him from the start, or kind of maybe to hold out in a game? How do you view him using it?
I can see it happening at PSG away again. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he's done from the Super Cup and replicate that. Obviously, there is the sort of downside of, because we already did that against them not that long ago. Would he want to do the exact same tactics? Who knows? We have got new players since then, so maybe he can keep the same sort of formation but add different elements, like a Xavi Simons, who we wouldn't have had the first time round. I think it's brilliant having the option. Because like Ash was saying there, Danzo, Romero, Van der Ven, if all fit, all firing, all at the back, I think those are some incredible, an incredible back three. Sorry, the only thing at the moment though is, even if Romero was fit to play, we have no other options at centre back whatsoever. If one of them goes down injured, or even just simply to bring on fresh legs, we don't have that option because Dragoshin's not fully fit. Who knows what's happening to Kota Takai? I'm not even convinced we even signed a player called Kota Takai. I think it's just this myth, this enigma that we've just made up because we haven't seen him once yet. So, and with Vuskovic sort of having a great loan, maybe it's something we can look to develop a lot more further down the line when players are back fit. But no, I think it's great to have the option. Porro is a brilliant wing back. I think Udogie as well, when he's fit, would benefit from it a lot more than someone like Spence, for example. We've lost our man. But yeah, I think the back three is it's a useful tool for us, but I just don't know if we can use it at this very moment.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because I think not having those options off the bench is restricting Frank at the moment. So he's not able to do those.
Even have Davis as an option right now.
Exactly. Yeah, this is it. And I think that's the reason why people are like, oh, why is he not going to a back three? Because he doesn't have the players, bro. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? What are we doing there? So I definitely think when we get those centre backs back, and I think that's why a lot of fans were bemoaning, oh, why did we send Vuskovic out on loan to Hamburg? We could have used him. But I'm saying, boom, he's getting much more minutes right now, learning on the job rather than being on the bench. Remember, Danso's come on, he's competing with those two. So I would prefer him to be out there, earning his stripes.
How many times would he have played if he was with us right now? Probably not that much, like 5 minutes here and there, if that.
Yeah, this is it. So, I mean, it's a blessing. It's all blessings. And I think it's all going to work out, lads.
Let's hope so. Thank you for stepping in there. I meant to press the unmute button for myself. I pressed the leave studio button. At least I didn't press the end podcast button. That would be even worse. So, rookie error there. I've absolutely no excuse there. It's proper poor from me. As long as Tottenham do better than that. But George, can I come to you before we get on to Newcastle? One more player I do want to talk about, Xavi Simons. Is it just not clicking for him at the moment? And what do you put that down to? Of course, we still need to probably give him a lot more time to settle. It's a new league. It's a new country. Everything is different, isn't it? It's a different manager, and it's going to take time. It doesn't often click straight away.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think, look, whenever a player comes with a decent price tag on him, let's say, and, he's lauded as one of the best wonder kids in the world. Like, people knew about him when this guy was like 14 years old, 13 years old. He was a massive prospect, obviously learning the trade, coming through the Barca academy, then at PSG and PSV and Leipzig. Like, the amount of Champions League minutes this guy's got already at what is he, only like 20, 22, 23 years old, is for such a young player, he's already so experienced. So I think coming into the team, I think a lot of fans, probably myself included, a little bit expected him to hit the ground running a bit more than he has. So it's a bit frustrating in that sense. I do think there are some games so far we just haven't serviced him well at all. I think his best ability by far is being able to progress centrally, whether that's kind of taking on players in dribbles, whether there's, like Ash was saying earlier, there's sort of intricate passes. We've not been doing that with Bentancur and Palhinha. He hasn't been able to, whether that's been able to forge the relationship with them, or whether it's been down to Frank in allowing us to play that way. I just don't think we've been able to utilize him to his best ability. And it just looks like he's not involved because we can't get him involved, if that makes sense. So I think it's going to take a bit of time for him to forge the relationships. One thing I thought he looked really good was when he came on at Bodo Glimt away. I think Udogie, Odebear, and himself sort of forming triangles on that left-hand side. I thought they looked really good. I think all three of them they have that ability to sort of knock the ball between each other really, really well to sort of create chances. And I think whatever game it was after that, I think they played together there as well. And you could see it, that relationship between those three really started to form well. The problem is, as amazing as Spence is defensively on the left-hand side and has looked good on the left-hand side, he's very limited going forward because, as again Ash said earlier, he's always looking to go on his right. If he's always looking to go on his right, it's really difficult to sort of link up play quickly on that left-hand side. So I think we're missing a doggy with that, which then obviously hampers Xavi Simons' performance and obviously would hamper someone like Odegaard, who would have been there a couple of games ago. So maybe it's just a case of really nailing down who we have at left wing. If it's not him, if he's in the 10, for example, and maybe when Udogie's back, I think he'll start looking a lot better. And mainly, I just think getting used to the physicality. He was one of the most fouled players in Europe for the last couple of years, which works well for us because obviously we want more set pieces. It's great. But the level of defending in the Premier League, in my opinion, is also much higher than it is in Europe. So as much as he might win more fouls, there's going to be a lot more chances he'll just lose the ball. And that will make him look worse than maybe his talents allow him, his talents perceive him to be. So I think it's just going to come a time. He'll learn the trade with the team, the players, the league. And once he's sort of in that flow state, I think we'll start seeing him really help us progress, especially in those sort of central areas.
Let's hope so. And it's just something, isn't there, about the Premier League? And maybe it's the level, it's the pace, but we see players struggle. I mean, George, you got Florian Wirtz for Liverpool. I mean, I hate these kind of comparisons, but exactly, it's such a probably similar situation. And I think we have this expectation. Do you think a lot of it is to do with price tag as well? Like, let's use Wirtz as an example. Comes in for that huge sum you just mentioned, and people expect it to hit the ground running. Should we maybe not hold them to account because of the price tag? I know we can have some kind of expectation instantly as fans, but maybe a little bit more patient.
It's hard, isn't it? Because look, the price tag is not the player's fault. It's between the clubs to agree the fee. And Wirtz, for example, going for 130 odd million, whatever it was. The problem is, as fans around and as pundits and just the noise around football, you're going to be talking about that because it's an astronomical amount of money. You're expecting that player to be world class, and if they're not looking world class, then it's hard for there not to be noise, and then that puts pressure on the players. Okay, Xavi Simons wasn't as much as that, but it was still a pretty decent fee, especially what we're used to seeing Spurs playing and what we've seen of his potential at previous clubs. I think maybe there's quite a lot of noise around him at the moment, and he's just kind of got to wade through that. There's a lot of pressure on these players to perform, especially with those fees, and you can't. It's hard to just completely ignore it unless you do a Brennan Johnson and just delete all socials and just crack on. But who knows? I think, like I said before, I think with the experience that he's got at such a young age, I would not be surprised if he comes out the other side of it more positive and starts growing across the season.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully, it does well, and over time, hopefully hits the ground running as well as the season goes on. Thank you. Let's move swiftly into then our next game, because there's a lot of fixtures, isn't there, in a short period of time. That's I think it'd be fair to say. And it is Newcastle next for Tottenham on Wednesday in the Carabao Cup. And look at that for timing. Now introduced a Newcastle guest in Mr. Toon Tactics. How you doing, firstly, mate?
Big up to you, gentlemen. Big up to you, Harry. Always a pleasure to be here. Good to see you, Ash. Good to see you. Well, I think it's my first time seeing George, but welcome to all you guys and the panel and the chat. Good to see you guys.
Pleasure meeting you.
Good to have you. Thank you very much. And can we start with you, Toon Tactics, and get your perspective from a Newcastle point of view? How are you seeing this game? How important is it?
Very important. I think obviously we are the reigning and defending League Cup champions, so we want to keep that run going. It's going to be important for our psychology, but like psychologically speaking as well, like to keep that cup running going. It's the cup that we won. If we were to lose at home, for instance, it would be. I'm not going to say it's going to derail us, but it wouldn't like. It would affect us for sure. So for sure, it's very, very important. I expect our strongest and most available players to be playing.
Okay, thank you very much. Good to see, of course. Well, not for us, but the competition to be taking it seriously. So, thank you for that. George, can I come to you from a Tottenham point of view? How do you feel ahead of this game? And do you think that Everton win is the confidence booster maybe we needed going into a big game like this?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because the optics of it would be awful if we had lost that game. Drawn against Monaco, which a lot of people, even though it's away in the Champions League, it's it's a game I think a lot of people still expected us to maybe win, or at least have a better performance than we did. If we hadn't have beaten Everton, all of a sudden the pressure's on Frank because the football hasn't been that great the last couple of games, and then we're talking about a Carabao Cup fixture where you don't have to play that many matches, and all of a sudden you're in the final. It's a trophy you can win early on in the season and build that winning mentality. And I think the pressure would have been on Frank way more to deliver a result, knowing full well that you've got the best chance of winning this trophy, especially in your first season. But I do think the win has sort of given us a bit more of a boost to think, okay, hold on, Everton, tough away game. We hadn't won there in 7 years. We won 3-0 and a massive result. We all know how the Newcastle away games have been recently, although getting better. Was it like 6-1 down to 4-1 down to 2-1? So by that logic, we should be getting closer to a draw. So no, I think we just got to build on that. We have to and really come in with this game with a bit more confidence and belief that, you know what, look, sod it, we can go to St. James's Park. We can beat them there. We can progress and get one step closer to another trophy and build on this winning mentality of ours.
Let's hope so. Thank you, George. Ashmatic, how do you feel ahead of this game? And do you think St James's Park is like intimidating place to go? Because I don't know about you, I kind of in my head have these list of away days in the season where you go, that's gonna be tough for Tottenham to go. You have like Stamford Bridge, but one of them is St James's Park. Just feels like a really tough place to go and get a result.
It's funny because obviously not last season, but the season before last, we actually done Newcastle over at home. We did a good performance. I think we slapped them 4-1. You know what I'm saying? So that was with legendary Son Heung-min. He's no longer with us. Doing up.
He's still alive though. He's still alive.
I was gonna say, it makes sound like he's not alive.
Big up, Sonny, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's over in LA, living LA life. And we're missing that left-sided player, in my opinion. That left wing is missing, but I think there will be some changes, and that may affect the way this result goes, in my opinion. If Newcastle are going to go really strong, they've got top players. I'm sure Toon's going to talk about Murphy. He's really on form. He's a really strong box threat, in my opinion, scoring goals for fun. Barnes as well, in my opinion. Even if they don't go for Gordon, Barnes is also a threat. Whether they start him or if he comes off the bench is something to think about. Of course, Voltemeda, he's the flavour of the month right now. But if I'm going to look at Spurs and the way we play, Odobert has been performing a little bit better. There's something in there. I think he does need a bit more output. But who knows, in the cup game, he might be the one that comes in on that left-hand side and he does do something. He contributes in some way. I think Mwani will start again. So it's going to be a duel between Mwani and maybe Botman or even Tor, sorry. Chow, sorry, I apologize. Chow. Chow,
like Barry of Dirt, no talent say Chow.
Chow, yeah, Chow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's Mwani. He might be able to dunk on Chow. I'm hoping, but look. Who knows? We don't know what Mwani can produce on these stages. He's someone that can run in behind, cause them problems, stretch the defensive back line, and that could create space for some of our players. Do you know what I mean? Some of our players coming in like Kudos. If Kudos does play central again, I felt that Kudos, when he was playing centrally, he was a bit confused when to go wide and when to stay central and when to run in behind with Johnson and Porro. When they were playing those little, not triangles, but they were standing in that space and that right-hand side. So I think if they can get the timing right on that, and then also Kudos, obviously he's left-footed, he can sometimes drop off to the left and combine with maybe Xavi, because Xavi was upset, he came off early. Maybe he's got fire in his belly. He needed to get taken off. He's got a point to prove to not just Frank, not just to the Spurs fans, but to himself. People comparing him to Wirtz. He ain't gonna like that. So, there's a few players with a little I don't know, little fire in their belly, like something on something to prove. So it could be very interesting going into it. And we all know about the Pape Sarr, I say Pape sauce right now. He's gonna Sartori, you know, he's gonna be the one to prove a point as well. We got a few players, you know, that could cause a little upset for Newcastle. We got something for you guys, don't worry. We got something.
Yeah, cooking something up indeed. Thank you, Ashmatic, for that. Team Tactics, talk to me about Newcastle. What have you made your start of the season? Because it initially, from an outside perspective, looks like a mixed bag, and I've got that impression when watching Newcastle. However, it feels like the kind of results are now turning maybe in your favour, and you're looking in a better position now, particularly in the Champions League. I've been impressed.
Yeah, and for the folks that don't like metrics and like the eye test, you're going to hear a whole lot of metrics in a moment. But essentially, our underlying metrics are far better than the points we've got on the board at the moment. And I know the metrics that matter the most are the games you've won and the points you've accumulated. I get that. I'll just put that to the side. But in terms of like goals expected, goals conceded, like I think we're certainly the top three, but not too far behind Arsenal in certain elements in terms of our metrics and what we're achieving. Arsenal are far ahead of everybody else. But that's the kind of defense that we've got going on. Another defense that's not too bad at the moment is Tottenham. So we'll talk about that one in a moment as well. But defensively doing very well. We're doing generally okay and getting better with our attacking metrics, which have improved. So what we've been not been doing very well is being clinical in our finishing, which is something that Tottenham have been doing, overperforming as well. I'll talk about that as well. But it's slowly, our points and what we're getting is slowly aligning with what our metrics are saying. Like we ought to be better than what we're doing at the moment, and we're finally beginning to get that at the moment. A big part of that, again, another question to you guys at the moment, is that we're playing a lot more centrally via Voltemada, who essentially comes in and becomes like, well, it depends what's in the midfield. Either part of the fourth player in a three-man midfield or the third player in the two-man midfield, depending on how we're doing things. And the point is to outnumber the midfield and to have runners going in behind him. Hence why you see Murphy scoring, you're seeing Bruno scoring, you're seeing Gordon scoring, especially in the Champions League and others. And obviously you do see Voltemada scoring, but mainly if you can see like either from set pieces or when he gets into the box, but he's that crucial element for us and what he kind of been able to get through. So a big part of that though, us playing centrally, is not only Voltemada, but and I was going to ask you guys about your wingers, is our fullbacks, our first team fullbacks and Hall and Livramento are injured. And so our 33 and 35-year-old Dan Burn and Kieran Trippier, God bless them, are playing there. And so they're getting a lot of protection from our midfielders at the moment, which means our wingers are a little bit isolated, hence why we're going a lot more centrally. So I was going to ask you guys about how your wingers are doing. I hope they're not doing too well, but if they are, then we need to look at that. But I anticipate a big battle to be centrally, and that's why when you guys mentioned Pape Sarr, I was looking at your top players as well. Like Pape Sarr, he's got goals and assists as well as being a box-to-box player. That's why I just feel like we're going to play our first team. We're playing a little bit of Miley and Ramsey, but I think you will see Tonali, Joe Linton, and Bruno Gomes playing this game and probably be rotated in the second half. But generally, there's a good positive output projection. This will be our third game at home after Benfica, Fulham, and now you guys. And so, yeah, I forgot what the question was, Harry, but I think we're doing okay. We're doing okay in our playing style, and our kind of overall plays beginning to match our metrics as well. I was going to ask you guys a question later on, but yeah, I was wondering about your wingers. I was wondering around your central part, your centre of your park as well. And so, yeah, that's where we're at the moment. Who do you think will play?
Okay, let's unpick it then. So I'm just going to say firstly, Kudus is absolutely flying. That's all I'm going to say. So be careful about him. He's been absolutely fantastic. George, talk to Toon Tactics here about our wingers. How do you think they're doing? I mean, we get the feeling with the right-hand side. But what do you think about the left as well?
Yeah, look, Kudus has absolutely nailed that right-hand side for the most part. Obviously played centrally against Everton. That would interest me if he does go back to the right, because obviously, like I say, if it's probably going to be Dan Burn at left back, and obviously Dan Burn's a very, very strong physical guy, but I'd like to think that Kudus could take advantage with his 1v1 ability and his pace. It'll be a very interesting matchup, because otherwise I'm not sure if we were to stick Johnson out there again, I think he would just get lost. So that would be interesting to see. I think probably Kudus does go out wide again. The left, we haven't really nailed down a player there. Odobert, before the Everton game, he started 4 games in a row, was gradually getting better. I think he's a good 1v1 dribbler. Arguably doesn't quite have the end product yet. He's not really accumulated a lot of assists, a lot of goals. I think one of his main assists just came from an own goal, actually, as in he assisted the own goal as opposed to one of our own players. So, Antel, who I personally see as a left winger, has had to play striker pretty much every game. So we haven't really seen him out there. I think if Colomwani plays, what's good about him is even if he does start as the striker, because he's played at left wing and right wing, whether that's for Nantes, PSG, Frankfurt, he likes to sort of drift out wide with his play to accumulate other players as well. So I do think a lot of our focus will be playing out wide. So if you're saying that your fullbacks is probably your weakest point at the moment, I would like to think that we could take advantage of that a little bit. But we haven't nailed down that left side at all. Xavi Simons could play there, could be Odobert, could be Moani with Richarlison up front or Richarlison out there. I just don't know yet.
Okay, thank you, George. And Ashmatic, can I ask the other part of his question about centrally, because we all know Newcastle's strong midfield, Tonali, Guimaraes, Joelinton. What do you think Spurs have to offer in midfield? Don't say, necessarily what you'll play with or what you think the 3 will be, because we'll get onto those predicted and preferable lineups later. But talk to midfield in general, Ashmatic. You're on mute, my friend.
There's different parts to it. Like, we've got defensively off the ball, I'm quite proud of my team, in terms of the midfield. We're hard working. Harry asked earlier, one word to describe Spurs at the moment, I'd say efficient. And that's what I could probably talk about my midfield. Really like German whip, you know what I'm saying? Volkswagen. Like, that
You've
type
got
of
the Volkswagen, we've got the BM, I think.
You got the tank, everybody. That's what you got. Bruno Guimaraes. I was watching, bro. One eye on Newcastle, one eye on Chelsea. I was looking boss eye at that. But literally, I think the problem with Spurs is progression centrally, in my opinion. And, George touched on Henry, his ability to drop, I think, and link play, a bit like what Vortamade has done. He's able to do like first time flicks around the corners and link that play to our wider players. So if he can bring some of that, then that could help some of our central play. And also when we do go long, he's able to hold it up as well as Kudus. So Kudus is when we go long and we go direct, Kudus can hold it out wide and bring others into play. So I think talking about central play, I think that's where Spurs do have the edge. But the weakness, again, depending on who we play, is that if we don't play Kudus and Paulinho, who's basically our solid rock, we've got an issue, in my opinion, where because we've got a lot of mobility, I think Gray's quite mobile, Bergvall, mobile, Sarr, mobile. What do I mean by mobile? They vacate the space. And so when you vacate the space and you're not disciplined and you don't hold that position, teams find it easier to play centrally. And so against Monaco, what I did see was, and I know it was Bentancur and Paulinho for that game, they were able to play through us centrally because they used the centre-backs to pass through and the midfielders stood behind basically our first line of defence or second line of defence, which was our midfield. So that's the issue I've got with sometimes when you do swap out Paulinho and Bentancur, when you put another midfielder in there that likes to run, likes to get up and down, we don't have the same central progression. Coverage, sorry. We don't have the same shield of protection, in my opinion. So hope that answers your question. Without
music to my ears. Music to my ears.
No,
keep vacating.
Yeah, vacating. but to caveat my own point, Frank has been really good at possession, and he set the team up in the 4-4-2, and he forces teams to go out wide. From what I've seen so far.
I've got a question. Can I ask you on top of that? Go on. Sorry, I should say.
Yeah. No, that's it.
It's on your efficiency point, and also kind of joining in because I know there's been a few. I'm gonna say there's been a few moany Tottenham fans. I'll tell you that because you've got.
Oh really?
I can't remember how many points you've got. You've scored 17 goals this year with 7 conceded, which is very, very, very good. I can't remember how many points you got. But I was matching your XG at home and away. It's pretty much in line, especially at home. Like goals conceded and goals for is pretty much in line together, so it's not far over. So for anyone in the chat, like if you don't know what I mean, say Tottenham, for instance, scored five, I can't remember how many goals you scored at home, but say you scored 5 goals at home, yeah. No, say you scored 5 goals at home, but your XG, so then which is your created chances, is like 2, right? That says that you're really overperforming. Yeah, you're not doing like at some point you're gonna get lower unless you improve your.
Yeah, what you say?
Yeah, so at the moment that's aligned at home and away, even your defensively, from what I've seen, which means to me that your attack and defense, as you said, is efficient. It is in line. It's not by accident that you're getting these results. The only accident I can say is overperformance. So away, again, goals conceded is in line with, is not too far from your defense. You're slightly overperforming, but not by much. Goals scored is like considerably higher than what you're creating away from home.
Overperforming.
Like why? I've seen.
You want
to talk about open play and set pieces? That
okay.
I don't know. These guys can answer. I don't know. Could be a case, but I mean, the other day we spoke about it on our show, and I said, "Is the set piece thing? Is it sustainable?" And I was talking about them lot across the road, innit? Well, obviously, them lot stole it originally from Brentford. I don't know if you know, they took Brentford's Thomas Frank, the originator. They took his set piece coach, and then they were like, "Yeah, we've got it now." So really, it's not their thing; it's a Spurs thing. You know, I'm just saying, like, because we've got the Brentford coach coaching us now. So, I think no. In all seriousness, though, I think at the moment, yes, we are. The game's about marginal gains, at the moment, and you're seeing Spurs. We never had that weapon last season, and now we are utilizing it, and we've got quite a few tall blokes, quite a few physical chaps in there. And when you've got players like Van der Ven, and he just puts a hand on Pope, you know what I mean? And he just blesses him. He said, "Listen, you're now baptized," and he pushes him in the head, and then he's free for a header. Look, these are the things that matter. These are the goals that can change game states, in my opinion. And I think we never had that last season. And it can help relax a team. It can help build momentum. And I think that can keep the away fans quieter. We saw how quiet they were at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. We're hoping to do the same maybe at, St. James's Park. And so that's the reason why you're seeing such a high XG outperformance compared to, the actual goals scored.
I think as well, I like to liken it sort of to the beginning of Ange's time, but for like the complete opposite reason. So the first 10 games under Ange, we blew teams out the water because we went from really defensive sort of 3-4-3 Conte ball, completely switched it over to this really aggressive attacking football under Ange, and teams just didn't know how to deal with us because it was something they weren't used to seeing from Spurs. That's why I think those first 10 games under Ange went really well until teams sort of started to cotton onto it. This is almost the same thing, but not for the attacking style of play, but for set pieces. Ange completely ignored set pieces and tactics from corners and this, that, and the other. Now it's been such a heavy focus of Frank at the start of his time. I think a lot of teams sort of just still have that in their mindset that automatically assume that Spurs are terrible at corners. They don't do anything. But now it's been such a big focus. We're starting to improve players. Like Van der Ven used to be dreadful at heading the ball. No matter the fact that he's 6'3", 6'4", when we signed him, that was his biggest weakness, defensively and offensively. That's now become his biggest weapon because Frank's putting him in a much better position in the box. It's not just you just run in the box and do what you want. He's strategically placing him in front of the goalkeeper, keeping him in the 6-yard box. Naturally, you've got more of a chance of getting a flick on into the net. So there's little things like that I think we've changed completely compared to last year that teams aren't necessarily expecting from us.
Okay, that's interesting there. Thank you very much. Before we get on to lineups and score prediction, I want to talk about the players we should watch for both sides. So Toon Tactics, if I can start with you. So from a Tottenham point of view, or looking at Tottenham players, should I say, what players are you most worried about you think Newcastle just have to deal with?
whoever's on your flanks, probably Kudos would be my main thing. I did like him through the middle, and I saw large parts of the Everton game. So I did like the idea, because me and Ash we did both watch the Monaco game, and I was thinking, oh mate, it's looking a bit, the connection between your midfield and your attack, and Kudos seemed to be a good solution. So it shows that Frank is doing that. But I take the point that Ash made, is that sometimes he looks a bit confused as to whether to go on the flanks or not. So definitely Kudos, his unpredictability. His expected assists are like 1, but his actual assists are like 4. So he's like the luckiest man alive, but he's doing very well either way. And probably for Charlison, and I saw he's got 4 goals. He gets so much stick that you actually have to remind yourself to look at the stats for him and say, oh no, he is actually getting goals, and or whatnot. Although he does hate to play at number 9 for sure. So I think if those two play, that'll be something to look out for, and it depends on what part of the pitch. I'm more concerned about what part of the pitch who plays where for Tottenham than I am necessarily the players, if that makes sense. If Kudos, wherever he plays at the moment, with the form that he's got, will be a problem. I would prefer him to play centrally, because I feel more comfortable with Chow and or Botman to be there, and Tonali. Like, you're going to have a hell of a Ronaldinho performance if you're going to be like doing stuff there. But on the flanks, I think Frank will go for him. So I think that'll be my main concern, what Tottenham do there from those sides on our flanks.
Okay, thank you very much for that. George, coming back to you, in terms of who Tottenham need to watch out for in terms of Newcastle players, who strikes you as the one that maybe could cause the most problems?
Well, the one I'm interested to see, like, Baltimore kind of firsthand, really, because I know he's got a couple of goals recently, but it's obviously a massive, massive ask to come in as effectively Isak's replacement, right? And not necessarily play the same way he does either. So I am really intrigued to kind of see that firsthand as to how we handle that, because when we played Man City away, we were very, very heavy on our man-to-man pressing. Like, Van der Ven followed Haaland everywhere on the pitch, like followed him all the way to his own box at one point as well, which I thought was really interesting. So that's why I'm a little bit intrigued to see, like, are we going to employ that same sort of tactic? If he is going to drop a little bit deeper to sort of link up a little bit in that midfield, as you were saying earlier, will we just say, Van der Ven, stick on him, don't let him do that? But then does that also leave space behind then, if he is successful in his link-up play, to create chances? So that's where it becomes a little bit of a game of chess. But that's what I'm intrigued to see the most, because I'd love to see how maybe your style of play has changed a little bit with him compared to what we've seen with Isak in the past.
Okay. Maybe it's a case of, you say, I don't think it will happen, but Danso, you go with him and you leave Mickey van der Ven back for his pace. Is that something we could consider maybe?
Definitely, or even Palhinha. I know, because obviously, naturally, just say, look, keep an eye on this guy. If we're not going man-to-man, maybe it's one of those ones where a lot of the times Palhinha could drop in as that centre-back. Or no, actually, Bentancur's been doing that a bit more recently, which is, to be honest, I find quite surprising, because you'd expect Palhinha to be the more defensive-minded player. But no, I think that whole sort of battle in that, like, maybe the edge of our area, I think is going to be the key, really. Because if you guys can get through the middle of us, I think it's going to be difficult times for us.
Thank you, George. Ashmatic, how important is this midfield battle? I've said it before tonight, and I say it again, Newcastle midfield is superb. And at home, it's a big ingredient for me as to why they do very well. How can we stop them?
Yeah, Bruno Guimaraes, I think he's a bit of a handful at the moment, isn't he? Coming up with those goals. And so I think it's going to have to be Paulinho or Bentancur, actually, because Bentancur's South American.
Oh, gosh.
He's South American.
Argentina.
Uruguay, Argentina. Yeah, they don't like each other. I think, yeah, that might work. I think Tonali's the unknown. I don't know who deals with him, because he's a clever player. He's a player that knows where to be on the pitch. He can mix it up. He can go short. He can go long. He can carry, technically sound. Protects the ball well. Keeps the ball ticking over. Helps Newcastle progress up the pitch. He's just an all-rounder, really. And so I'm worried about both of them. But it depends, innit, how Frank views this game, because I do envision that would be some changes. And yeah, if he does start both Paulinho and Bentancur, then I'm less worried about both Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes, because then we've got two midfielders that can be quite aggressive at times. What I have seen is Bentancur sometimes in the press, sometimes he presses the one of the attackers further forward. So when they're trying to play out from the back, sometimes Bentancur's ultra aggressive, and he follows his man all the way in, and he presses. Danso sometimes, just to go back on that attacking talk, sometimes Danso's our sweeper. You know, last season it was Van der Ven that was a sweeper. This season, I think it's reversed. So we're saving Mickey Van der Ven's hamstrings by playing him as the almost Romero role, and Danso's doing the Mickey Van der Ven role. So we did it in reverse. So Mickey Van der Ven's spending less time sprinting backwards and sprinting forwards instead, which worked better for him. So, but yeah, coming back to that midfield dilemma, I just think, yeah, if we've got Bentancur and Paulinho, they will match up against Bruno Cremeiras and Tonali. It's Joe Linton, I'm not sure. He's another battering ram. He's another physicality player we got to worry about, because he disrupts a lot of defenses by his hard work.
I think that's why we probably would play Simmons left wing again, I'm guessing, because I think that's my main criticism of him at the moment, is he's been quite weak on the ball, and I feel like that midfield would eat him alive if you try to get through that. I mean, I'd like to think he'll draw in fouls, but I think we're probably better off sticking him out wide. And
so then who would be your midfield three then?
Probably Bergvall could be the number 10, because I like how he presses in a 4-4-2 when we're sort of out of possession.
You think Saul would miss out again then? Is that what you're saying? Saul would miss out again?
Potentially. It all depends, because I think Saar played his best for us when we were able to knock the ball long. And like I said earlier in the stream, he wins the second balls really, really well. But if Newcastle's biggest strength is through the middle, and I mean, with the size of their defenders and I guess and the strength of the midfield, are we going to win those headers for him to pick up the loose balls? That I'm not too sure. Whereas I feel like out of the two, Bergvall's got a little bit more about him physically.
Yeah, aerially, yes. Yeah, aerially.
So I think that's probably why I'd go for him in this game over Saar. Which is a shame, because Saar started the season off so well.
That's a good shout, actually. Thank you very much for that. Let's get on to lineups then. I want to start with predicted lineups. So, from a Tottenham point of view, what we think Thomas Frank will go with. Newcastle point of view, what, of course, Eddie Howe will go with. So, we'll start with you, Toon Tactics, from the Newcastle perspective. What do you think that Eddie Howe will go with?
I think he may stick with almost the same team that we played against Fulham. The difference would be, so I think Voltemade will start up front, Murphy on the right, on the left will be Gordon. It'll be that three-man midfield of Joe Linton, Bruno, and Tonali. I think the main change might be at right back for 35-year-old Trippier, who's been playing game after game after game. So you might see Kraft there instead. I think he stays with Burn, though I hear that Hall is fit. But do you want to start? Do you want Hall to have his first game back against Kudos? I don't. So I kind of see him starting off with Burn instead of maybe rotating in the second half. And Pope, 6 clean sheets so far this season in 12 games. I think he stays. So I think that I haven't made much changes really. It's just probably Kraft that are right back. It's almost like traffic lights in terms of like who's fit or not, who's not. It's hard to tell. So yeah, but I think our strongest team will probably play.
Okay, thank you very much, Ashmatic. What would your lineup be from a Tottenham point of view? Well, not with your lineup, but what do you think Thomas Frank will go with, should I say?
Yeah, I think that it's hard because we've got obviously a big game on Chelsea coming up. So I do think there needs to be some changes, but this game's really important. So we're between a rock and a hard place. That back line, I think, needs to stay the same unless Romero's fit. But I think Danso's been playing well. So I would envision that Kingsley would be the first change. So Kingsley would be in goal, which would help our progression, playing out from the back, short to medium, long passes. Not saying that Vicario hasn't improved, because I think against Everton he was fine. So yeah, Kingsley would come in for me. And then the centre-back pairing would stay the same, Van der Ven and Danso. Left back has to be Spencer. Doggy, I know he's had minutes on the training pitch, but I'm not sure if he's fit enough to start. So Spence will go out on the left, and then on the right, Porro again. He starts every game. He'll be there. Midfield, I'd have to agree with George. I'd have to say possibly Paulinho and Bentancur start together in a double pivot. With Bergvall, it was aerial ability in terms of heading, linking up on that left-hand side, pulling wide when needed to. He'll be there. And then up front, the way Xavi was putting his face up, he looked like a spoiled child. I'll be real. He's going to start on the left, man. He's not going to be happy if he's not starting. So I see Xavi starting on the left. On the right, it'd be interesting because Kudos came off at 77 minutes. So maybe he took him off with that in mind, knowing that we've got that game coming up. So Kudos would start. And then up top, I think Moani has shown signs that, you know, he needs to have another game. He needs to be tested at another game. So I'm going with a very similar team. Not many changes from what we saw on the weekend.
Thank you, Ashmatic. George, you have to jump. So can you give us your predicted lineup and your score prediction all in one?
Sure thing. I actually agree with a lot of that lineup. I think we've got to see Kinski at some point, and I think there's not many. I don't think he's going to use him that much in the Champions League. So I think the Carabao Cup and maybe the early stages of the FA Cup are the perfect times to play him. So I do think he'll go and goal. Back four, we can't really change. We don't have that many options. The only other one is Gray, because obviously he did Gray against Monaco at left back. Could be possible if the idea is to save Spence for maybe coming up against Esteval when we've got Chelsea at the weekend. Other than that, the midfield that we said, I think Bentancur, Palinho is a lock. I think that's just bound to be the same. Bergvall, like we said about his sort of a little bit more strength, a bit more heading ability. Xavi on the left, Kudus on the right. I would also probably opt for Colomwani as well, mainly because the one thing I'm not too keen about Richarlison is if he has to battle two really strong centre-backs at once, I just don't think he's able to do it that well. Whereas because Colomwani, as Ash said earlier in the podcast, because he kind of drops a bit deeper at times to link up play or even runs to the left, to the right, I think he could hopefully draw the centre-backs out maybe a bit more than someone like Richarlison could. And maybe use his agility a little bit better, especially if we're trying to, transition away from home. So that's what I'd go for. Prediction is so tough because we just haven't done well there at all recently. I think the only hopes of it being a cup game is maybe there's more changes than expected from Newcastle. Maybe that helps us a little bit. Hopefully the result from Everton has given us a little bit more of a boost that, we can win at these tough games. I think the addition of Palinho and Danzo, a brilliant centre back. I think the solidity that they provide have given us that little bit extra to think that we actually can see out games. If let's say we take a 1-0 lead, we can see out that more than we would have done in the past. But I still expect it to be tough. I think in 90 minutes it will be a draw. It doesn't go to there is no second legs and stuff like that for this round, is there? It's all
straight to penalties.
Is it penalties?
Yeah, I've got a feeling this goes to pens. This is going to be such a tough battle between the two teams. And I feel like I haven't seen Spurs in a penalty shootout in God knows how long. So I don't know how it would fare in that situation, especially without the likes of Son, Kane and co. So no, the optimist in me will always say Spurs will win. But there's no denying this is going to be such a tough game, especially having already played away from home a few days prior.
Exactly that. But George, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Where can people find you lastly on social media?
Yeah, it's just you can see my name there, George Achillea, pretty much across all platforms. Instagram, posting cinematics from match days. I do the odd match day vlog for away trips. Even on X and so forth. Yeah, it's just my name, just chatting rubbish about Spurs every week.
Nah, you chat good stuff. Thank you so much for your time. All the best. Come on, you Spurs.
All the best. Nice to meet you guys and see you guys again.
You too, sir.
You too. Thank you very much. And the show will go on for now. We'll wrap it up, but we go for a couple more questions to finish. So we've gone on to their predicted lineup. So now I'm going to ask the question of what I call preferable lineup. And I will explain myself because when I've done shorts, people seem to go, Harry, you got this completely wrong, etc. Well, this is just all about what you would go with. And I think the beauty of this is you can go really funky. Often I'll change the formation or think, go by game basis. So this is now what you would do if you're in the position of manager of both great Tottenham and also Newcastle. Ashmatic, can I start with you? If you were Thomas Frank, I'd love to see you as head coach, by the way. I have a role in the management of some kind. What would be your lineup? Talk us through it.
Oh, it's an interesting one. What, everyone fit or what we got at the moment?
What we've got fit. We'll do that.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. All right.
Sorry.
I'd have to pick with... I'd have to... It's pretty much similar to what we have already. the change, if I wanted to be a bit more brave away from home, I would swap maybe either Bentoncourt or Paulinho out. I'd swap one of them out only because I'd want to be a little bit more attacking, and so I'd probably put a midfielder that's a bit more forward thinking in that position. Who that midfielder is, I would probably risk it for the biscuit. I'd probably put Pape Sarr in there because I think he adds a bit of defensive stability, but he also can help with the attacking going forward. So I would have Paulinho because I think he's such a force to be reckoned with in terms of winning those duels, and I'd have Pape Sarr alongside him, and I'd have specific roles for them. I think that's what would change a little bit more. I would say, okay, in possession, I want Sarr. I want you not to stand side by side with Paulinho. I need you slightly forward, so you're standing at an angle. So whenever Paulinho's got a ball, he's got an option to give it to you. Do you know what I mean? He's always got a person. Or if you do stand next to him, I want you to arrive in that space where I'm talking about slightly higher up, slightly in front of him, so that he's got that passing lane into when we're playing out in the back or we're trying to build up from midfield. That's what I want from Pape Sarr. When we lose the ball, obviously I need him to drop back into that position, be disciplined, and stay alongside Paulinho. So I think I'd add a little instruction in terms of the number 10 role. I wouldn't even have a 10. I would just have a left 8. And again, it'll be a similar role to what I'm telling Pape Sarr. I need my midfielder to sometimes, when we lose the ball, you drop alongside Paulinho. But when we're in possession, I need you to stand at an angle and offer, because too many times there's not an option, a passing lane for one of our midfielders. And that midfielder, the third midfielder, left 8, could either be Bergvall, or I could even add Archie Gray as a left 8 on that side, just to add a little bit of progression in terms of passing. He's very good in terms of, like, when we don't have the ball, he works hard, he can defend, he can get that ball back. And I'd risk it for the biscuit, man. I'll put him in there, man. I want someone that's going to be able to pass forward and not always check in and then pass backwards or sideways, and then we lose the ball, and then all of a sudden we give momentum to the other side. In terms of the front line, pretty much the same. Moani's got to be in there for me. I think Kudos at the moment, I want him out wide, but I don't want him to live there, if that makes sense. So when I've got Kudos, okay, he can start wide, but I want him to eventually come inside and overload central areas to outnumber Newcastle's midfield 3, for example. And sometimes I want it to be Moani that drops into that position, and then Kudos kind of pulls wide and he acts also as an auxiliary right forward, if that makes sense. On the left, pretty much the same. I'll start what's his face for now, who's Xavi Simons. But then I wouldn't be mad if Odobert start there as well. But I think with Xavi Simons, I just want to see him in those attacking positions, and I want him to have less touches. That would be my instruction to him, because I think at the moment he thinks way too much and he's not instinctive. Football's about being instinctive. Where he's trying to work too hard and impress, in my opinion, that's where he's letting himself down. If he limits his touches and thinks about being on the move, we'll see the best of him.
I think you're spot on, Ashmatic. An example of that, isn't there? You know, where I think, I can't remember what was annoying me now. Yes, at Everton in the last game, I think it was actually, where there's a couple of options to his left. Jed Spence was one of them, and Simmons were away on the counter, just released the pass. I'm sure you remember that, but he didn't. And I'm surprised that, like Spence didn't really have a go for him. The commentary picked it up. Do you think that's an example of where he's thinking, what should I do, rather than go with his instincts? Because player instincts often, especially with a player at Xavi Simons' level, often you've got to go with your gut, go with your instinct, and because they're class at the end of the day, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, no, it happened not just in that game. It happened in another game where we had a counter attack on, and I think it was in the Champions League game, in fact, against Monaco. And it was one of the times when Moani came on. We've had a counter attack. I think it's broken to Sar's giving it to him. Moani's on the run. Xavi's in possession. We're attacking Monaco. And he checks his run. He actually takes the ball backwards when the obvious pass would have been forward into the space, and he's overthought it because he's thinking, as a player on my peripheral, my right-hand side of my shoulder, what happens if he intercepts me? Let me check back and then keep hold of possession instead of playing that ball first time, less touches, playing it into space, giving it to one of your front players and pushing us up the pitch and then passing that responsibility onto someone else. There's other examples in that game against Everton where I'm saying, take less touches, just give it into Kudos early. You know, first touch, get it out your feet, be positive. Second touch, play that ball forward. And then make that run in beyond him, because there's times when I'm saying, burst past him, overlap that person or underlap, get into the box. And I think at Leipzig, he was really good at box crashing. He was really good at getting inside that box and then sometimes hanging back, you know, because sometimes you'll get into the box, you won't receive it the first time, it breaks to one of the wide players, but because you've hang back towards the edge of the D, the ball breaks back, like the player might hit it across the box, it might not get to the striker, it comes out, then Xavi's there waiting. Or a player with a high IQ sees him hanging back, and instead of putting it across the face of the box, he cuts it back to someone like Xavi, and Xavi puts it in the back of the net. It's just small tactical tweaks I would do with the team, different instructions. It's not mad changes, but it's something where I think you can add a player, give them an instruction, and, you know, with a different profile, a different mindset, they might link up with a player slightly different to someone else. And that's why I would experiment in that midfield area and experiment with Xavi, giving him a different set of instructions and giving him confidence, saying, bro, you're that guy, man. Oh, go on. Do your thing. Get me. But yeah, that's me, bro.
Exactly that. No, thank you so much. Mr. Toon Tactics, can I get your Newcastle preferable 11 then? I want to see how it differs from what you think Eddie Howe will go with.
Again, it'll be the fullbacks. So I'd hope that Kieran Trippier actually stays. They give him some steroids or something. I don't know. Just keep him on the pitch. And Lewis Hall was able to start the game. Because I think with the way our fullbacks are at the moment, our wingers are very isolated, especially Gordon. I know that Murphy scored the other day. That's because Kieran Trippier was on that side. But with Lewis Hall playing, he's able to add that extra man in midfield. I noticed when you guys played Monaco that you're a very structured team, but when there's a slight difference to what the opposition are doing, so the two centre-backs and Achillea or Ansu Fati will come in sometimes and add a little bit of an overload. It took a little while for you guys to adjust. If you ever really adjusted, that they created a lot of chances for you, against you. And I think we don't have an Achillea type of player, but we do. Our fullbacks are kind of our main thing in disrupting the lines. And with Hall on the left side, if he's able to add an extra man in midfield together with Altamada, then you've got an opportunity for Gordon to either go on the inside or on the outside. And he loves that. When he has a choice to do either or both, he becomes very, very good at that. And he becomes very confident in himself. Like he takes the game on that way. And he did that against Benfica. It was terrific against Benfica because he had the option. Byrne started playing like in terms of just being more advanced. Similarly, on the right side, Kieran Trippier, just his positional sense, just being higher up, allows Murphy to also come inside a little bit, create those overloads, and disrupt the lines that way. With that, what Joe Linton would do, say on the other side, if Hall pushes up, Joe Linton then covers Hall by slotting him back in that left hand side. So it's okay. Like we've still got really athletic, strong defensive areas of Joe Linton, Chow and Botman. So even if Mwani gets the ball and is able to run in behind, at least we've got somebody there. So it's those type of overloads, and to be able, because when you're so structured and so efficient how you were, especially against Everton, like Everton didn't know what to do. Like you have to have someone that can disrupt your lines a little bit, whether it's being able to dribble past, to have some through balls going through, but you have to do something almost. You have to cause overloads. You have to make something happen. Otherwise, Tottenham, as efficient as they are just going to take over the game. So I think we have to have something like that. A joker card would probably be maybe Ramsey in goal. So I don't know. Do you do man-to-man press when you're pressing when you're doing to stop the building?
Man-to-man press, depending on the game, depending on the opposition. But we sometimes and it depends on the phase of the game. So sometimes we do man-to-man press, and sometimes we back off, go into a mid block / mid to low block, kind of medium-ish, medium rare. I don't know if that works, but we mix it up depending on the game state, the opposition. But we're generally 4-4-2 man-to-man press type of team.
So if it's a 4-4-2 man-to-man press, although Pope is trying his best, he's just never going to be a ball-playing goalkeeper. Ramsey is. At the moment when we're playing with Pope, when our centre-back split, they can only do that within their penalty box, which has you can make it work, but it's more difficult. Whereas a Ramsey, you can push up a little bit and cause a little bit more disruption. So now you're in a mid-block, which has its advantages, but then you also open yourself up for the ball going over the top. You do other opportunities to open up inside the midfield. You have Votamada dropping in, you have Hall going up, with a goalkeeper going up front. We can build up a little bit better. It's going to be difficult, but it'll be better with a Ramsey. I don't think how we'll go with Ramsey just because Pope has been doing so well, but that would be my ace in that kind of ace in the hole is having a Ramsey. Not a Ramsey. I said Ramsdale. Ramsey. You're like, wow, does he know that Ramsey's a playing goal?
I did wonder. I didn't say anything, but I started thinking, hang on, we're talking about a third goalkeeper.
Ramsdale. Sorry, Ramsdale.
Yeah,
Ramsdale.
Makes sense now what you're saying.
Yeah.
Building up compared to Pope.
You had to blank faces. I'm like, what am I saying?
I know, I was there.
He played it for. Okay, is that Aaron Ramsey?
I did it with in our show last time. I kept saying Morgan Rogers for Tottenham, but it was
happens
Dwight.
Yeah.
So just having Ramsdale, we just need something in some way to just disrupt your lines. That's the best way. If you're playing a structured team, efficient team, you have to find a way to disrupt those lines.
But the more I think about it, I don't think we man-to-man press. I think we're going to go to a mid-block because I think that's probably working for us a bit more, especially against Everton. I felt like we kind of sat off, let their centre-backs have it. Fans weren't really happy about it because Everton had a lot of possession, especially in that second half when we sat off. We tend to do that at times. But I guess is that Frank's thinking he wants to be solid. He doesn't want us to be exposed. If we go man-to-man, we press high and leave a space in behind, etc. So he kind of does that mid-block. We're not low block because the defenders are defending outside the box. But because they're so strong centrally, we try to make the pitch as small as possible in the middle by doing that 4-4-2 mid-block, making it really condensed so you got nowhere to play but down the sides. So I think that's what he's going to do.
Yeah. I think it's going to be we're going to do mid-block, you're going to do mid-block, it's going to have a shootout. And that's why I think it's better to have like a whole playing, so at least give Gordon the chance to say, I can drop in centrally, I can go and that's when you got those disruptors playing for you, like being able to do that as well. So
the difference is though, you have Gordon on your left-hand side.
Yes.
We don't have a Gordon.
Yes.
We don't have a Gordon. We do not.
Yeah.
Or a Watermeda.
Or a Murphy.
Go for the whole attacker, but no, thank you very much. Yeah, exactly. Thank you both of you. Let's end then with score predictions and also your scorers. So, Ashmatic, as a fellow Spurs fan, can you give your prediction and also who you think is going to score, if anyone?
We are the Corner Boys 2.0. How about that? Corner Boys 2.0. Deep that.
Love that.
Benton Core, boom! Van der Ven, boom! But unfortunately, the Toons, man, the black and white army, bloody jailbirds, they're going to score 2 as well. It's going to be a 2-2, broski. I don't like it. I don't like to admit it, but it's going to be a 2-2. Because you know, to penalties, just like George said. And it's whether we've got that mentality, you know, and we've got the kahunas and we've got the steel to get that over the line. Do we need a bit of luck? Yes. As long as Tell doesn't take another penalty, I can't take it. Take another BLM, bro. Like, I'm telling you, I've had enough. Sorry, Harry. But listen. I think the optimist in me, because you got to do that. As you got to back your team, you got to back your club. Spurs get through. Frank's hailed as one of the greats because we're in the semi-final, quarter-final, whatever it is, and we get the job done. That is my score prediction. Over to you.
Love it. Thank you. Doing it the hard way, but we get the win. That's all that matters. However, we get it done. So thank you very much, Ashmatic. Go on then, Mr. Toon Tactics. From a Newcastle perspective, what's your score prediction and your scorers? Are you back in your side?
Yeah, but I do so very cautiously. I'm hoping the Tottenham that is with the lower metrics are playing away turns up rather than the Tottenham that sees those metrics and just scores tons of goals turns up. That would be my real hope for that game. But we do score. We're playing really well at home at the moment. We're nearly scoring 2 goals per game, which is a lot better. But even though we're still quite low in returns, after talking to you guys, I think Gordon. I back Gordon to score, and I back. I had it in my head now. It was Gordon and someone from the midfield. I'll go for Gordon and Bruno, and I'll give Murphy 1 assist and Voldemar an assist. Voldemar to Gordon and Murphy to what's his name? Bruno.
Love that. Okay, very specific. Thank you very much. I love it. It's detail. It's great. Fantastic. Do you know what? I've got one more question. It's for Ashmatic actually before we end, and it's a tough one. I'm afraid this might. Well, I think it is. Might get your brain thinking. If Tottenham could win just one out of Newcastle in the Carabao Cup and Chelsea in the Premier League just once, but to make it harder, we have to win one of these and lose one. It's not just a case of drawing one, win one and lose one. Which way round would you choose?
What means more, innit? What means more?
Because you know what? Can I add some jeopardy to it?
Oh, go on.
Please do.
If you choose to beat Chelsea and lose to Newcastle, all the haters are going to say, typical Tottenham fan is allergic to trophies. That's just add to that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was going to say Newcastle anyway.
Okay.
I think there's a small rivalry building up there. There's a small rivalry building up because you're the next of the best of the next. I don't know. You're outside of the
best of the rest,
cartel. Best of the rest. Yeah. I think you're outside of that cartel, the so-called Big Six cartel that we're financially in. And I think Newcastle think they are, part of it, but financially, technically they are, but they can't spend it because PSR, blah, blah, blah. But I just think, there's a small rivalry building up there where we both have the similar aspirations. And if we get one over away from home, I think losing against Chelsea, we never beat, can almost, be softened. That blow can be softened. Either one, though. I mean, listen, I picked Newcastle, Harry. I picked Newcastle. I'm not trying to flip-flop. I'm just saying, if we were to lose against Newcastle, but we smash Chelsea at home, oh my days.
I love
the
that.
home voodoo will be over and the fans will go epileptic because we never beat Chelsea and Frank's delivered something that Ange couldn't, you know what I mean? So, hot potato, I know, tomato.
It's tough.
I don't know. It's
tough.
It's a good question.
Thank you. And do you know what I love? Toon Tactics, you think you've got away with this one, but I've just come up with one actually, and I couldn't before. I've just thought of one. I don't know how it quite worked, but I was going to say it how I think I'm thinking in my head. So would you rather win the Carabao Cup, which means you retain it this season for Newcastle, or do the double over Sunderland? If you choose the Carabao Cup, it means you lose badly twice to Sunderland.
I'm sorry, Newcastle. This is the problem being a London fan that supports Newcastle, is that they're not.
We don't care.
That was too easy for me. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough.
They're all day. They can celebrate. We're going to be doing what do you call it? Our
open air
parade all over, just and go through Sunderland as well, just to add to it. They can hold those victories. Sheesh.
Okay. What about if Sunderland not only done a double over you, but beat you quite a bit, and also they finished above you in the league?
Yeah, they got top 4, and you got.
I
They got
wouldn't
top
even-
4 and you got 10th.
No. Those questions, I always say Newcastle have to win everything. I don't even.
Fair enough.
Yeah. They have to do everything.
Fair enough. I like that in a way. Focus on yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Great stuff. I think that wraps up nicely. If either of you got anything else to say before we end?
No, I've got a show when is it? Tuesday, tomorrow with Harry Scarfe. We're going to be doing the preview for Tottenham Newcastle, and I have some more questions to ask as well. So, and reviewing our game against Fulham as well. So, yeah, do tune in, guys, on Toon Tactics TV.
Great stuff. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Let's go through and see. You can find our guests. So, Toon Tactics Dave talked about your show. Where can people find it and also follow you?
Oh, yes. So, guys can follow me on X, on Toon Tactics TV, and you can follow me on YouTube, on Toon Tactics TV on YouTube, and as well on TikTok. Again, Toon Tactics TV. So, do follow me on that, guys.
Lovely stuff. Thank you so much. And Ashmatic, thank you for stepping in last minute. I don't know what I would have done without you. Where can people follow you for your lovely little insights and tactical analysis that we all like to listen to?
I'll tell you what would have happened. The show would have finished about an hour ago. That's what would have happened.
maybe.
But yeah, you lot can find me and Marvelous, the Martian Marlon, on X, Spurs Kings TV. And yeah, man, you can find us on YouTube, bro. Just type in Spurs Kings TV. We're crazy over there, man. So yeah, man, come check us out. And anyone's welcome, man. We don't hold back.
Great stuff. Well, I'm very happy to say I'm on Spurs Kings TV tomorrow. I think I'll come join at 10:30 when my other show finishes. I'm also on Toon Tactics TV. So there we go, on both channels. So that's perfect to say. But thank you to everyone who's listened. A reminder, let us know where you're listening from, what country from, what time of the day. But if you're listening via audio podcast platform, drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube live or afterwards, please like, subscribe if you haven't already. It's free to do so. It supports the channel. And the last thing to say as well is I recently interviewed a former Spurs player, captain and record appearance holder too, in Steve Perryman. It's really interesting because he was very open, arguing also that he would be at Legends Evening. He talked about where he thinks the game's gone wrong. He speaks about captaincy and how the game really lacks captains now. So he really opened up about this current team and also the past. So if you check that out on YouTube or any podcast platform. But thank you to my fantastic guest tonight. And last but not least, sorry, Toon Tactics, massive come on you Spurs.